high above the timberline, where the jagged peaks of the range meet the pale lavender of the retreating night. A pristine subalpine meadow rests in profound silence. Dawn arrives not with a sudden rush, but as a slow, liquid amber washing over the frost-crusted blades of alpine bunchgrass. Melting snowbanks carve intricate, crystalline channels along the edges of the clearing, feeding distant, unseen snowmelt streams that murmur a low, steady lullaby over polished river stones, carried on the gentle spring breeze. The sharp, clean fragrance of pine needles mingles with the damp, rich scent of awakening earth. In this sanctuary of high-altitude tranquility, the world holds its breath as the first golden rays of sunlight spill across the valley floor, warming the damp fur of a new arrival. Here, shielded by towering evergreens, a female mule stands watch over her newborn foal. The birth itself, a quiet culmination of springtime reproduction, concludes in the stillness of the early morning. As the newborn draws its very first breath, the cool, crisp air expands delicate lungs that have never before known oxygen. This young equid enters the world carrying a fascinating genetic mosaic, a sterile hybrid combining the long, expressive ears of the donkey with the robust, athletic stature of the horse. The ambient soundtrack of the Alpine awakening swells ever so slightly. A pair of mountain chickadees sings a soft and tentative melody from the lower boughs of a blue spruce, while the mother delivers a low, rumbling maternal snort, welcoming her fragile offspring into the peaceful morning light. For a fleeting moment, time pauses in the high-altitude air. Then, the tiny chest heaves upward. Cool, pine-scented mountain air rushes into nostrils unaccustomed to the world, filling delicate alveoli that unfurl for the very first time. This initial inhalation triggers a profound physiological shift, redirecting blood flow through the newborn's heart as the lungs take over the vital task of oxygenation. The transition from the warm, dark enclosure of gestation to the vast, open expanse of the subalpine meadow is absolute. A gentle spring breeze sweeps across the clearing, rustling the needles of nearby pines and carrying the chill of receding snowbanks. The foal shivers slightly as this moving air kisses wet, newborn fur, sending cascades of sensory signals firing along undeveloped neural pathways. Every element of the environment speaks in whispers. The distant murmur of snowmelt streams blends with the soft, rhythmic rustling of the forest. Sounds that were once muffled and distant now echo clearly in the open mountain atmosphere. The foal's oversized ears twitch involuntarily, catching the resonant note of a maternal snort vibrating through the damp earth. This sensory awakening is both overwhelming and serene, a delicate introduction to existence under the high-altitude sun. Eyes that have known only shadows now adjust to the diffused, amber glow of dawn filtering through the canopy. The world is impossibly large, bright, and still. Lying cradled in the damp bunchgrass, the young mule rests for a quiet moment, letting the rhythm of its new breath steady itself against the heartbeat of the alpine morning. As the foal rests against the frost-kissed bunchgrass, its developing form tells a remarkable genetic story. Born from the union of a male donkey and a female horse, this newborn mule inherits a unique blend of traits designed for the rigors of rugged mountain life. Its coat is a soft, earthy dun, carrying the subtle, primitive markings of its sire, a dark stripe tracing the curve of its spine. Yet, its stature leans toward the grace of its equine mother, featuring a deep, sturdy chest and a strong, compact frame sculpted for endurance. Most striking of all are the long, expressive ears that rest softly against its head. Lined with downy fur, these oversized sensors are already finely tuned instruments, capable of swiveling independently to catch the faintest rustle in the pines. This hybrid vigor grants the foal a resilience unknown to either parent stock, combining the sure-footed agility and tough constitution of the donkey with the larger lung capacity and athleticism of the horse. Its limbs, though currently spindly and seemingly uncoordinated, are surprisingly robust. The cannon bones are dense and thick, built to withstand the jarring impacts of navigating rocky scree and steep alpine trails as it grows. Hooves are remarkably hard and oval-shaped, naturally adapted to gripping uneven mountain terrain. Every physical attribute is a masterpiece of evolutionary compromise, pre-engineered for survival in high, unforgiving elevations. Wrapped in this durable package, the young mule lies peaceful and still. The morning sun climbs higher over the ridge, casting a warm, golden hue across its slumbering form, while the quiet sanctuary of the meadow cradles its first fragile hours of life. Beside the thawing bunchgrass, the mother responds to the fragile new life with an instinctive, ancient devotion. Lowering her velvety muzzle, she begins a gentle, rhythmic grooming of her newborn. Her warm breath washes over the damp, earthy coat, a soothing caress that dries the soft fur and stimulates the foal's circulation. Each sweep of her rough tongue sends reassuring vibrations through the delicate frame, a comforting language older than the mountains themselves. This tactile interaction is crucial for mammalian bonding. Through this continuous licking and close contact, the mare inhales the unique scent of her offspring, imprinting the foal's distinct olfactory signature into her memory. In the vast, open spaces of the high Subalpine, this chemical recognition ensures she will know her young among any herd. Soft, low-pitched maternal snorts rumble gently in her throat, a resonant vibration that wraps around the newborn like a warm blanket. These low-frequency sounds travel easily through the crisp morning air, offering a steady auditory anchor in a world that is still entirely new and overwhelming. The foal responds to the cadence, letting out a faint, breathy sigh as its eyelids flutter. Nestled close to its mother's broad flank, the young mule absorbs the radiant heat of her massive body, shielding it from the lingering chill of the melting snowbanks. Safe within this sanctuary of scent, sound, and touch, the fragile creature rests deeply, anchored by the steadfast devotion of the adult female who guards its every breath. As the early morning mist begins to lift from the meadow floor, the young mule's senses awaken to the vast expanse of the Alpine valley. The thinning vapor rolls away like gossamer curtains, revealing a world painted in soft shades of gray-green and pale gold. Through these shifting veils of fog, the foal processes its very first impressions of light. Its dark, liquid eyes adjust slowly to the sunrise, registering the gentle contrast between the shadowed snowbanks and the sunlit pine canopy overhead. Every detail of the environment arrives in waves of delicate sensation. A soft, whispering mountain breeze carries the sharp, clean fragrance of pine resin and damp earth, stimulating a nervous system designed for high-altitude survival. From the branches above, the clear, melodic song of a mountain chickadee drifts downward, a high-frequency note that captures the newborn's attention. The foal's oversized ears swivel independently, pivoting toward the sound with remarkable precision. This dual-directional hearing, inherited from its donkey ancestry, allows the young hybrid to map its acoustic landscape with profound accuracy, detecting the subtle rushing of distant snowmelt streams and the gentle sigh of rustling needles. Touch, too, tells a story of the changing day. The cool, damp air brushes against the foal's sensitive muzzle, contrasting sharply with the radiant warmth radiating from its mother's side. Beneath the quiet surface of these new perceptions, a calm, watchful nature begins to take root in the young mind. There is no panic in this unfamiliarity, only a deep, instinctive stillness, guided by steady senses and cradled by the mountain's tranquil morning rhythm. The newborn simply observes, resting peacefully in the heart of the high-altitude sanctuary. Higher now, the golden rim of the sun clears the jagged eastern peaks, spilling a long, amber cascade across the subalpine meadow. Where heavy frost had glazed the blades of alpine timothy and clover just moments before, tiny diamond droplets begin to form. This gentle warming of the atmosphere triggers a subtle physical transition within the resting foal. Its slender body relaxes deeper into the damp earth, absorbing the ambient heat as the morning sun thaws the residual chill from its newborn coat. During these quiet moments of stillness, complex physiological processes are at work. The foal's newly expanded lungs process oxygen with effortless efficiency, while its circulatory system redistributes warmth outward to its long, delicate limbs. Deep within the muscle tissue, a natural buildup of energy prepares the nervous system for action. The hybrid biology of the young mule, bridging the sturdy bone density inherited from its donkey sire and the expansive frame of its horse dam, begins to prime itself for the demanding mechanics of standing. Beside the resting newborn, the mother remains a steadfast anchor of warmth and protection. She shifts her weight slowly, offering a low, rumbling breath that vibrates gently through the mountain air, reinforcing the deep olfactory and auditory bond they share. The foal responds with a tiny, involuntary twitch of its oversized ears, registering the comforting cadence of her presence without breaking its restorative repose. Bathed in the soothing embrace of the morning light, every muscle fiber gently tightens and stretches beneath soft, dusty gray fur. The initial fatigue of birth drifts away on the warming breeze, replaced by a quiet, gathering strength. The fragile form lies completely at peace in the sun-drenched grass, silently gathering the vital momentum required for its very first tentative journey upright. Bathed in the golden warmth of a late spring afternoon, the newborn mule foal rests quietly against the sloping contours of the Alpine meadow. Its damp coat, still bearing the miraculous marks of recent birth, catches the slanting sunlight, drying slowly in the gentle, whispering wind. All around, the rich, earthy aromas of damp soil, crushed clover, and blooming mountain wildflowers drift upward on the thermal currents, filling the young equid's sensitive nostrils with an entirely new world of scent. Sensory adaptation begins almost immediately. The nervous system, suddenly flooded with a cascade of unfamiliar inputs, processes the low murmur of a distant, trickling glacial stream and the soft, rhythmic rustling of tall meadow grass bending in the breeze. Distant birdsong echoes softly across the valley, creating a tranquil acoustic backdrop for this tender awakening. Just inches away, the adult female stands sentinel. She lowers her velvety muzzle to nuzzle the tiny form, exhaling a series of soft, rumbling maternal snorts that vibrate gently through the cool mountain air. This tactile connection, the warm brush of velvet skin and the familiar scent of her breath, anchors the newborn in safety. With eyes wide and dark, reflecting the vast expanse of the open sky, the foal takes in the vibrant greens and yellows of the awakening meadow. Every breath draws in the crisp, oxygen-rich air of high altitudes, quietly fueling the physiological development humming deep within its small body. For now, there is only stillness, warmth, and the quiet, unbroken promise of the journey waiting just ahead in the soft grass. Gathering its emerging strength, the young mule prepares for its most profound physical test. Tucking its disproportionately long, knobby legs beneath a robust hybrid body, the foal begins to understand the intricate architecture of its own skeleton. This unique frame is an evolutionary marvel, blending the refined bone density of a donkey ancestor with the broader structural leverage inherited from a mare. Together, these traits forge a specialized anatomy designed for rapid survival on uneven terrain. Deep within the slender limbs, specialized tendons and ligaments lock into a natural stay apparatus, an ingenious anatomical system that minimizes muscle fatigue by holding the joints rigid with minimal effort. Yet, unlocking this system requires immense initial exertion. The foal gathers its weight, shifting its slender shoulders and pushing hard against the yielding wildflower-strewn earth. With a determined heave, the front knees straighten, creating an awkward, top-heavy angle against the sloping meadow. The hooves, still cushioned by a soft, rubbery protective casing called the deciduous hoof capsule, a remnant of the womb that prevents injury to the mother, press gently into the damp clover and rich mountain soil. Every muscle fiber in the neck and back contracts in coordinated harmony, working to hoist the heavy torso upward. The physiological development humming inside the young equid's bloodstream suddenly shifts into a higher gear, pumping oxygenated blood rapidly through developing chambers. After a momentary wobble, the hindquarters follow, straightening in a sequence of fluid biomechanical adjustments. For the very first time, all four spindly pillars lock into alignment, holding the trembling newborn aloft in the warm, fading sunlight. Now upright, the newborn faces its next great trial upon the sloping earth. The soft, rubbery padding of its hooves, having met the open air just moments ago, begins a rapid process of keratin oxidation and dehydration, hardening into durable shell as it presses into the damp mountain soil. This delicate transition from embryonic cushion to resilient hoof wall is vital for traction across the uneven, wildflower-strewn meadow. With spindly limbs trembling under the unfamiliar weight of gravity, the foal prepares to move. Locomotion in a newborn equid is not merely a matter of will, but a complex orchestration of proprioception and continuous muscular feedback. Every shifting blade of grass and tiny depression in the turf sends rapid neural signals racing up the slender legs to the cerebellum, teaching the nervous system how to interpret balance in real time. The first forward motion is wonderfully awkward. A knobby knee bends, lifting a fragile leg only to set it down a fraction too heavy, too soon. The hindquarters sway independently from the forehand, missing the synchronized cadence of an adult. Yet, with each clumsy, tentative step across the soft earth, the animal's internal gyroscope makes micro-adjustments. The muscles along the spine contract and relax in cascading waves, searching for stability amidst the gentle sway of the breeze. A soft maternal snort drifts across the meadow, offering a comforting anchor of sound as the young mule conquers distance, one hesitant footfall at a time. That comforting anchor of sound is never more than a breath away. The adult female remains a steadfast presence, standing guard over her newborn with unwavering vigilance in the vast, open wilderness. Her large, dark eyes scan the perimeter of the sloping wildflower meadow, while her ears swivel independently, catching every whisper of the gentle wind and the distant, melodic songs of nesting birds. Whenever the tiny foal pauses, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the landscape or the sudden fatigue in its newly tested muscles, the mother closes the distance. She leans in, offering rhythmic, reassuring nudges with her velvet muzzle. These gentle tactile communications release a cascade of oxytocin and endorphins, lowering the foal's heart rate and reinforcing a profound emotional security that is vital for survival. Soft, low-frequency snorts rumble deep within her chest, vocalization specifically tuned to soothe without carrying far enough to attract the unwanted attention of passing predators. The foal presses its damp shoulder against her warm flank, absorbing the steady, reassuring cadence of her breathing. Through this constant physical proximity, the mother teaches the young mule where safety lies, binding their movements together as if they were a single organism. Side by side, they linger near the trickling glacial stream, its crystal waters murmuring over smooth stones. The adult dips her muzzle to drink, pausing frequently to check on her companion. Safe within the protective perimeter of his mother's presence, the weary newborn lets out a soft sigh, its long legs finally relaxing against the cool, fragrant turf as the golden afternoon deepens into quiet peace. A few paces away, the glacial stream carves its gentle path through the sloping meadows, fed by distant, melting snowpacks high above the valley. As mother and foal drift closer to the water's edge, a cool, refreshing microclimate embraces them. The air here carries the crisp scent of damp earth, crushed alpine mint, and polished river stones. Rising mist from the current washes over the foal's sensitive muzzle, introducing its developing olfactory system to a rich tapestry of aquatic scents. This moving water creates a continuous, low-frequency white noise, masking minor forest sounds and wrapping the newborn in an acoustic blanket of tranquility. Biologically, the rhythmic murmuring of the stream engages the foal's developing auditory cortex, helping to regulate its breathing pattern as it processes the overwhelming sensory input of its first day of life. The adult female stands placidly at the margin of the brook, her hooves resting on smooth, rounded pebbles. She lowers her head to sip the crystal-clear water, her throat visibly swallowing in slow, hypnotic motions. Refreshed by the glacial chill, she exhales a soft, warm mist into the cool air, blending her breath with the rising vapor of the stream. Sensing the profound stillness of his mother, the young mule lets his heavy eyelids droop. The combined cadence of the flowing water, the whispering breeze through the riverside grasses, and the steady, reassuring warmth of his mother's flank invites a deep, restorative calm. Every muscle in the foal's long legs uncoils, releasing the last vestiges of daytime tension. Safe in this sheltered riparian haven, the newborn yields completely to the soothing lull of the wilderness, drifting gently toward the quiet threshold of sleep. With a final, soft sigh, the young mule surrenders to the irresistible pull of exhaustion, letting his slender knees buckle gently. He settles into the deep, springy cushion of clover and dandelion blossoms, his weight sinking comfortably into the warm earth. This first reclining posture is a critical milestone. By folding his limbs beneath his small torso, the foal adopts a safe, compact resting position inherited from generations of equids. Standing guard above him, the adult female shifts her stance to form a protective living bulwark against the open meadow. She lowers her neck, her protective bulk shielding the sleeping newborn from the gentle evening breeze. Her large, dark eyes remain half-closed in a state of relaxed vigilance, yet her mobile ears continue to swivel independently, catching the distant, descending notes of evening songbirds and the faint rustle of grasses. Bathed in the amber glow of the descending sun, the foal's breathing deepens and slows, transitioning into the restorative rapid eye movement phase essential for processing a day of intense neurological development. His muscles twitch softly as his nervous system consolidates the complex mechanics of balance, locomotion, and sensory awareness learned under the open sky. Beside them, the glacial stream continues its steady, percussive lullaby, blending with the whisper of mountain air through the meadow sedges. Enveloped by this tapestry of natural white noise and the unwavering presence of his mother, the newborn drifts deeper into peaceful slumber. The fading light softens the contours of the valley, wrapping the resting pair in a blanket of quiet serenity as twilight slowly claims the sloping hills and high above the timberline, the sun begins its slow, deliberate descent behind the jagged ramparts of the western peaks. The fading golden light spills across the high grassy basin, washing the emerald slopes in a warm, amber hue that gently surrenders to the oncoming dusk. Long, indigo shadows stretch outward from the towering conifers fringing the meadow, cooling the earth in their wake. With this shift in illumination comes an immediate transformation in the atmosphere. The heavy, sun-baked warmth of the afternoon lifts, replaced by a crisp mountain draft slipping down the rocky gullies. In the center of the meadow, a young mule foal stands close to its mother, experiencing the sudden drop in ambient temperature. As the radiant heat of the soil dissipates, specialized blood vessels beneath the foal's dense, woolly spring coat begin to constrict, a vital physiological response known as vasoconstriction, This involuntary mechanism minimizes blood flow to the skin, expertly conserving precious core heat against the chill of the evening. The acoustic ecology of the basin shifts in tandem with the light. The energetic foraging chatter of daytime jays and flickers fades into a quiet, expectant stillness. Above, a gentle evening breeze threads through the upper branches of the dense pine forest, coaxing a soft, rhythmic rustling from the needles, a steady, whispering sigh that drifts across the valley like a lullaby. The day winds down, leaving behind a tranquil expanse where every breath curls softly in the cooling air. Beneath the deepening indigo of the sky, the young mule's physiology works quietly to master the mountain's rapid cooling. Nature has equipped the developing equid with a remarkably dense, plush juvenile coat, a thick layer of guard hairs and soft underfur designed specifically to trap insulating pockets of air against the skin. As the ambient mercury tumbles, microscopic muscles at the base of each hair shaft gently contract, lifting the coat into a loftier, more protective barrier against the draft. This natural pilorection creates a microscopic blanket of still, warmed air, sealing the foal's precious body heat within. To supplement this thermal armor, the young mule engages in slow, deliberate movements. Shifting its slender weight from one hoof to the other, the foal engages low-intensity muscle contractions. This subtle, rhythmic motion stimulates metabolic heat production deep within the tissues without expending excessive energy. Every tiny step massages the muscles, generating a gentle internal warmth that counteracts the crisp alpine air settling into the meadow. The mother stands sentinel nearby, radiating a steady, biological heat that the foal leans into, surrounded by the calming, whispering canopy of the evergreens. The young animal feels the internal fires of adaptation working in quiet harmony with the cooling earth. The chill of the evening becomes nothing more than a gentle cradle, lulling the growing equine toward a profound, restorative peace. Sensing the deepening chill, the experienced mare turns her head toward the sheltering edge of the forest. With a soft, low-pitched nicker that vibrates reassuringly in her chest, she begins a slow, deliberate march toward the timberline. The young mule follows closely in her footsteps, its slender legs moving in rhythmic harmony with the maternal guide. They navigate the short distance across the sloping meadow, leaving delicate impressions in the damp, cool grass. As they draw nearer to the dense thicket of evergreens, the microclimate shifts perceptibly. The timberline serves as a powerful natural windbreak, deflecting the brisk katabatic drafts that pour down from the jagged peaks above. Towering ponderosa pines and sturdy Douglas firs act as a living fortress, intercepting the biting gusts and creating a calm, protected pocket of air near the forest floor. Here, at the ecotone where the open basin meets the timber, the ambient temperature stabilizes slightly. The mother selects a sheltered depression carpeted with a thick, springy layer of fallen pine needles and soft, resilient grasses. This natural cushion insulates the foal from the cold earth below, preventing conductive heat loss. Walking in a gentle curve, she positions her massive body directly between the prevailing mountain breeze and her vulnerable offspring, cutting off any remaining drafts. The young mule responds instinctively to this tactical positioning, stepping neatly into the lee of its mother's sturdy flank. Sheltered by the living barrier of the trees and the comforting mass of the adult female, the foal relaxes its shoulders, breathing in the rich, soothing aroma of pine resin and damp earth as twilight quietly deepens into night. As the last amber rays fade from the jagged granite peaks, the acoustic landscape of the high Alpine Basin undergoes a profound transformation. The lively daytime chatter of foraging jays and the distant hum of industrious pollinators steadily subside, replaced by the hushed, measured rhythm of the twilight hours. At the ecotone where the meadow meets the towering timber, the atmosphere fills with a rich, textural tapestry of sound Gentle evening breezes, cooled by the advancing night, slide down the mountain slopes and encounter the dense, needle-laden branches of the pine canopy. This living architectural barrier catches the moving air, filtering the gusts into a soft, steady sigh that ripples through the evergreen boughs. Millions of needle clusters brush rhythmically against one another, creating a natural acoustic white noise, a continuous, whispering cadence that blankets the forest floor in sonic tranquility. This acoustic ecology plays a vital role in calming the nervous system of the resting young mule. The rhythmic frequency of the pine needles rustling overhead closely mimics the soothing properties of natural white noise, masking sudden, jarring sounds from the wider valley. It acts as an auditory shield, letting the foal's auditory cortex relax as the day's vigilance gives way to restorative rest. Interwoven with the gentle murmurs of the canopy are the final, sleepy good nights of diurnal birds settling into their roosts high above. A solitary robin offers one last liquid trill before silence claims the upper branches. Below, nestled in the lee of the sheltering timber, the soft, rhythmic breathing of the mare harmonizes with the sighing pines. Together, the whispering forest and the steady cadence of maternal respiration weave a seamless, comforting lullaby that drifts across the shadowed grasses, inviting deep and undisturbed slumber. In the deepening shadows at the timberline, the young mule seeks out the most vital anchor of its alpine world, the warm, reassuring presence of its mother. Instinctively drawn to the towering adult form, the foal takes a few small, hesitant steps forward and presses its entire body flush against the mare's broad flank. This intimate physical contact serves an essential biological purpose, bridging the gap between the foal's developing internal systems and the dropping ambient temperature. The mature female's body acts as a massive thermal radiator, generating steady metabolic heat that warms the cooler air trapped between their coats. As the young equid leans its weight securely against her side, specialized touch receptors in its skin transmit calming signals directly to the central nervous system, lowering its heart rate and releasing a flood of oxytocin that reinforces their unbreakable social bond. This close maternal proximity is the ultimate evolutionary safeguard. For a newborn navigating the vulnerabilities of a high-altitude spring night, the steady rise and fall of the mother's chest provides a tactile rhythm of safety. Enveloped in this sanctuary of radiant warmth and absolute protection, the young mule feels no need for further vigilance. Its heavy eyelids begin to droop, lulled entirely by the quiet constancy of the mother standing steadfastly beside it, a living bulwark against the vast and chilly wilderness. With a soft, contented sigh that stirs the blades of mountain grass, the mare finally lowers her heavy frame to the earth. She folds her slender legs beneath her with practiced grace, sinking gently into the deep, sweet-smelling meadow turf. The young mule responds in kind, letting its immature joints buckle softly as it drops down beside her, molding its small body into the exact contour of the mother's curved side. Together, they form a unified silhouette against the darkening basin. The final amber glow of twilight surrenders entirely to the deep indigo of the Alpine night, and the first brilliant stars begin to puncture the velvet sky overhead. As the air chills further, the foal tucks its legs neatly beneath its chest, minimizing exposed surface area to conserve its precious metabolic heat. The acoustic landscape softens into a profound, velvety stillness. High above, the gentle evening breeze continues its slow, rhythmic passage through the dense canopy of pine needles, creating a natural white noise that whispers through the branches like a lullaby. The ambient sounds of daytime have vanished completely, replaced by the deep, synchronized cadence of soft breathing. With every slow inhalation and exhalation, the mare's chest rises and falls in a steady, hypnotic tempo. The young mule matches this resting respiratory rate, its tiny body lifting and lowering in a silent echo of maternal security. enfolded in complete darkness, shielded from the mountain winds by the whispering pines, and warmed by the shared radiant heat of their close embrace. The little equid surrenders to sleep. Its muscles go entirely slack, heavy and relaxed, drifting into a deep, restorative slumber that will mend its growing bones and fuel its spirit for the adventures of tomorrow's dawn. The last amber embers of twilight dissolve behind the jagged crest of the western peaks, surrendering the high country to the quiet dominion of night. Above the granite ridge, a vast celestial canopy unfurls, spilling starlight across the steep Alpine slopes. As the warm breath of day fades, the mountain temperature steadily falls, replaced by the crisp, refreshing chill of spring. In this hushed Alpine world, a mother mule and her newborn foal navigate the darkening terrain, seeking shelter from the rising nocturnal breeze. They drift toward a natural depression nestled among weathered granite outcrops, a sheltered hollow that offers a gentle buffer against the whispering winds of the high-altitude wilderness. Surrounded by sparse, silvery sagebrush and ancient rock, the environment settles into a profound stillness. The ambient symphony of the dark begins to weave its steady, lulling rhythm, the distant, melancholic hoot of a horned owl echoing across the canyon, the rhythmic trill of crickets hidden among the stones, and the faint, constant murmur of a mountain stream tumbling over distant rocks. The mother pauses, her broad frame positioning itself to block the draft, offering her young an immediate defense against the sudden drop in temperature. As the shadows lengthen and deepen into velvety blackness, the pair stands close together, breathing in the crisp mountain air. Here, cradled by the timeless stone and the vast, glittering expanse of the cosmos, the long night gently enfolds them, wrapping the high ridge in an atmosphere of absolute serenity. Within the protective embrace of the granite hollow, the young mule leans gently against its mother, its senses tuning into the vast expanse of the darkened wilderness. In the absence of bright daylight, vision surrenders its dominance to a far more sophisticated nocturnal survival tool, hearing. Inherited through hybrid vigor, the foal's elongated ears begin their silent, tireless work. These remarkable biological parabolic dishes tilt and pivot independently, sweeping the dark in opposite directions like living radar. One long ear swivels forward to catch the soft rustling of brush as a nocturnal rodent navigates the sagebrush below, while the other swivels backward to isolate the susurrus of the gentle night wind weaving through distant pines. This specialized anatomical design grants the young equid a complete 300-degree auditory map of its surroundings. Without needing to turn its head or rely on visual confirmation, the mule processes every nuance of the mountain's nocturnal soundscape. Each acoustic wave, from the delicate crunch of a beetle on dry needles to the deep, resonant slide of loose gravel far down the slope, is instantly analyzed. The network of delicate blood vessels running through the thin skin of the pinnae also helps dissipate or conserve heat, but tonight, their primary function is vigilance. The auditory cortex translates the whispers of the dark into a reassuring stream of information, confirming that while the world is full of motion, the immediate vicinity remains safe. Surrounded by this constant, living feedback, the young animal feels the steady, comforting rhythm of the night wash over it, sinking deeper into a state of tranquil, protected rest. A few paces away, the adult female demonstrates a masterclass in ancient equine sleep biology. Unlike many mammals that must lie down to find restorative slumber, the large mule possesses a specialized anatomical adaptation known as the stay apparatus. Tendons, ligaments, and specialized joints in her limbs lock together passively, allowing her to rest her skeletal muscles entirely while remaining completely upright. She stands as a motionless silhouette against the starlit sky, an unyielding monument of maternal protection. This ingenious evolutionary design ensures that she can enter light stages of sleep without losing a fraction of a second in the event of danger. Her powerful frame acts as a physical barrier, deflecting the chill of the mountain air and shielding her resting offspring from the drafts sweeping across the crags. Every subtle shift of her weight is executed with quiet grace, accompanied only by the soft, rhythmic shuffle of a hoof against the granite dust. Her steady, deep breathing provides an anchoring metronome of safety that reverberates gently through the cool night. It is a slow, grounding cadence that reassures the young foal with every inhalation. Guarded by this living wall of muscle and instinct, the newborn absorbs the profound peace of the high country. The mother's unblinking vigilance remains a constant, silent promise, holding the vast and quiet wilderness at bay so that new life can heal and grow beneath the ancient canopy of stars. Fatigue finally overtakes the young mule, pulling heavy sleep into its tired limbs. Yielding to the profound weariness of its first long day, the foal drops gracefully to the earth, folding its slender legs beneath its small, relaxed frame. For a newborn equid, recumbent sleep is a vital necessity, though it is always taken in brief, cautious intervals. The moonlight casts a soft, pearlescent glow over its resting form, illuminating the fine dust clinging to its coat and the gentle rise and fall of its chest. Even in this vulnerable state of deep slumber, ancient survival instincts remain brilliantly active. The foal's elongated ears do not rest entirely. They continue to twitch and pivot independently, swiveling like tiny radar dishes to catch the passing rustle of brush or the distant, rhythmic murmur of the mountain stream. This marvel of hybrid physiology ensures that the young animal remains tethered to its environment, capable of interpreting the nocturnal soundscape even while deep within a dream state. A gentle night breeze sweeps across the high-altitude terrain, carrying the crisp scent of pine and stone. The cool air brushes against the foal's fur, but it remains warm and secure, nestled against the thermal shelter of the granite outcrops and the protective presence of its mother, standing sentinel just paces away. Blending absolute vulnerability with the deep-seated wisdom of wild ancestry, the little mule breathes slowly in the quiet dark, letting the peaceful mountain night cradle its weary body beneath the vast, glittering canopy of stars. The audio landscape of the high mountain night weaves a tapestry of gentle, natural lullabies across the crags. Far down in the shadowed canyon, the faint, resonant hoot of a great horned owl echoes softly against the stone, its rhythmic cadence drifting upward on the cool air. The breeze, having traveled miles across the timbered slopes, meets the jagged granite spires and whistles softly through narrow rocky fissures, creating a low, breath-like murmur that blends seamlessly with the steady, distant murmur of the mountain stream below. Every rustle of distant brush holds meaning in this timeless, undisturbed environment. Crickets maintain a steady, hypnotic chirping rhythm in the sparse vegetation, a ceaseless backdrop of sound that grounds the nocturnal expanse in a deep, meditative quietude. To the young mule resting nearby, these ambient frequencies form a familiar, safe cadence, washing over the sheltered alcove without disrupting the profound peace. The acoustic world of the high country is one of vast distances and intimate details. Sound travels far in the thin, cool air of early spring, carrying the subtle shifts of the wilderness directly to the resting foal. Yet, despite the invisible movements of the wild, the mountain feels entirely serene, wrapped in a blanket of absolute stillness. The steady, reassuring shuffle of the mother's hoof against the earth punctuates the quiet every now and then, a grounding anchor of warmth and safety. Here, nestled among the ancient stone, the wilderness breathes in slow, measured rhythms, offering a tranquil sanctuary under the infinite, watching stars. The deepest hours of the mountain night begin to wane, and the brilliant blanket of stars overhead softens, their sharp points dimming slightly against the vast upper atmosphere. With this slow celestial shift, the Alpine air grows noticeably crisper, carrying the sharp, clean scent of impending frost across the granite outcrops. Temperatures drop toward the freezing mark, triggering the natural thermoregulatory defenses of the high country. The foal's dense spring coat fluffs slightly, trapping a microscopic layer of insulating warmth against its skin, while its resting metabolism hums quietly to maintain a steady core temperature against the chill. The young mule stirs slightly within the sheltered alcove, its long legs shifting beneath its small frame as it senses the subtle transition in the atmosphere. A low, slate-gray tone bleeds into the eastern horizon, far beyond the jagged silhouettes of the distant peaks. Those remarkable, oversized ears twitch reflexively in the cool air, swiveling independently to catch the faint rustle of a waking world. Yet, for now, the deep, restorative peace of the high ridge remains undisturbed. The mother stands unwavering beside her resting offspring, her breath pluming softly in the freezing air like a gentle cloud. As the first pale hints of dawn brush the rocky crags with silver light, the little foal breathes deeply, completely safe within the tranquil embrace of the mountain sanctuary, ready to greet its first sunrise in the wild. The mountain valley rests in a profound, velvety stillness just hours before the dawn. Across the high river basin, a crisp pre-dawn wind breathes softly through the silent pines, carrying a chill that touches every blade of dormant grass. Here, the frost glitters like scattered starlight, coating the frozen earth in a delicate, silvery shell. A thin, ghostly veil of mist hovers just above the winding watercourse, lingering in the hollows where the cold air settles thickest. Amidst this frozen sanctuary, a young mule lies deeply sheltered against the flank of its sleeping mother. In these quiet hours before sunrise, the ambient temperature reaches its lowest ebb, testing the limits of the mountain's inhabitants. Yet, the foal slumbers in profound peace, protected by the evolutionary marvel of shared body warmth and an exceptionally dense, woolly juvenile coat. Every strand of the young mule's developing fur traps a microscopic layer of insulating air, creating a thermal barrier against the biting draft. This coat, inherited in part from its equine lineage, works in tandem with specialized circulatory adjustments. By narrowing the blood vessels near the surface of the skin, a process known as peripheral vasoconstriction, the foal's body skillfully redirects warm blood inward, fiercely guarding its vital core organs from the surrounding frost. As the wind whispers through the frost-covered brush, it blends seamlessly with the distant, muffled trickling of streams beginning to thaw beneath their icy crusts. The night is slowly yielding its grip, holding the young mule in a warm, secure embrace of quiet rest. Beneath the surface of this woolly exterior lies a fascinating intersection of mammalian biology. Drawing from its diverse heritage, the young mule possesses a coat structure that bridges two worlds. Its donkey ancestry contributes a dense, moisture-resistant undercoat of fine, tightly crimped fibers, while its horse lineage provides longer, coarser guard hairs designed to shed heavy frost and wind. Together, these layers act as a high-efficiency thermal blanket, trapping body heat within millions of microscopic pockets of still air. This sophisticated insulation is supported by silent, internal metabolic processes. Without shivering, the foal's developing body naturally increases heat production through non-shivering thermogenesis, a process driven by specialized brown adipose tissue that converts stored energy directly into warmth. As the pre-dawn hours press on, this steady metabolic hum quietly generates calories to sustain core body temperature effortlessly. The cardiovascular system plays its own quiet role in this endurance. Peripheral receptors in the skin continuously monitor the dropping mercury, signaling smooth muscles in the vascular walls to gently constrict. By reducing blood flow to the extremities, ears, and lower limbs, the circulatory system minimizes thermal loss to the open air. The warm blood circulates exclusively through the deep, protected pathways of the body, bathing the heart and lungs in a consistent, nourishing tide. Immersed in this biological harmony, the resting foal remains completely undisturbed by the surrounding frost. The crisp pre-dawn wind moves gently over the outer surface of its coat, sliding harmlessly across a barrier engineered by millennia of adaptation, keeping the young life inside safe, warm, and peacefully unaware of the Alpine chill. As the pre-dawn thermometer touches its lowest breath of the night, the ambient cold reaches the outer edges of the foal's thermal blanket. When insulation alone can no longer offset the descending mountain air, the young mule's physiology initiates a graceful, subtle shift. Deep within the core, the nervous system signals for minor, rhythmic muscle contractions, a gentle, micro-shiver response that operates almost invisibly beneath the skin. These tiny, involuntary tremors require no large movements, yet they effectively instruct the cellular powerhouses to burn small amounts of stored glycogen. Each microscopic contraction converts chemical energy directly into restorative heat, warming the musculature without disturbing the deep, restorative rest. It is an exquisitely calibrated balancing act, reflecting how equids efficiently manage precious energy reserves through long mountain nights. The body acts as a slow-burning furnace, carefully pacing its fuel stores so the foal remains warm, safe, and entirely at rest until the sun begins its climb. Far to the east, the horizon softens, hinting at the approaching dawn by brushing the high peaks with a deep, indigo glow. The crisp pre-dawn wind carries the distant, soothing trickling of thawing streams, a gentle reminder that the frozen landscape is preparing for its daily renewal. Sensing the subtle shift in light and temperature, the young mule stirs from its slumber. The circadian rhythm, finely tuned to the rhythms of the mountain valley, begins to reset hormone levels, signaling an increase in alertness. The foal slowly extends its neck forward, lengthening the spine, and points its long ears toward the lightening sky. With a slow, deliberate motion, it stretches its slender forelegs one by one, releasing the stiffness accumulated through the long, cold hours of rest. Nearby, the mare responds to the movement with a soft, low rumble deep in her chest. She rises gracefully from the frosted ground, her large frame offering a calm, reassuring presence that anchors the foal's awakening senses. The soft rustling of frost-covered brush accompanies her shift in weight. As the mother stands guard, the young mule gathers its limbs beneath its body, engages its core muscles with a gentle heave, and pushes upward to stand firmly on the frozen earth. With a light shuffle of hooves, the foal finds its balance, ready to meet the new day as the first warm rays of sunlight begin to touch the valley floor. Golden light spills over the highest granite peaks, slowly descending the steep slopes into the quiet river basin. As the first direct rays touch the valley floor, the frost clinging to the dormant grasses begins to glisten, transforming into tiny, trembling droplets of water. This gentle warming of the microclimate releases a rich, earthy scent of damp soil and awakening vegetation into the crisp air. Standing tall beside the mare, the young mule is entirely alert. Its large, expressive eyes absorb the shifting palette of the valley, moving from deep indigo shadows to warm amber and gold. The sudden influx of solar radiation triggers sensory adaptation within the foal's developing nervous system, registering the gradual rise in ambient temperature. Its outer guard hairs, engineered by nature to trap insulating air, now catch the morning luminescence like a fine halo of silver. With quiet curiosity, the foal tilts its head, watching a low-lying ribbon of morning mist drift lazily across the thawing meadow. The distant, melodic awakening calls of mountain birds echo through the pines, harmonizing with the steady, reassuring trickling of nearby streams breaking free from their icy overnight bond. The young mule takes a slow, easy breath, its lungs expanding with the freshened air as the vibrant new day settles gently over the peaceful basin. With the chill of night fully surrendered to the climbing sun, the young mule prepares for its first active movement across the meadow. Propelled by a natural circadian surge of restorative hormones, the foal engages its developing equine physiology, coordinating muscles and tendons for a gentle journey forward. It takes a deliberate, steady step, its small hooves pressing softly into the damp, yielding earth of the river basin. Each graceful motion activates internal proprioceptors, sending vital sensory feedback to the nervous system as the young hybrid navigates the awakening landscape. The transition from resting thermoregulation to active metabolism flows effortlessly. Rhythmic muscular contraction generates a comfortable, sustained warmth that permeates every slender limb. The foal's dense, winter-adapted coat begins its gradual seasonal release, adapting seamlessly to the warming trends of the advancing spring. Around them, the valley breathes deeply. The low-lying fog dissolves completely into the upper atmosphere, revealing a vibrant expanse of emerald grasses and reaching pines. The mare takes a slow, guiding pace toward the lower riverbanks, and the young mule follows closely, its stride growing more confident with every passing moment. This quiet procession marks the successful completion of a full diurnal cycle, anchoring the foal securely within the rhythm of the mountains. Surrounded by the gentle sounds of trickling streams and drifting breezes, the young mule steps into the broader journey of the year, cradled by the peaceful serenity of the morning. High above the timberline, the high country has finally awakened from its long winter sleep. The heavy blankets of snow that once sculpted these alpine plateaus have slowly retreated, pulling back into cool, shaded mountain crevices. In their place, a vibrant green tide rolls across the slopes. Summer has arrived, wrapping the expansive grasslands in a peaceful, sun-drenched warmth. A gentle breeze drifts across the basin, carrying the sweet scent of damp earth, blooming mountain marigolds, and delicate alpine forget-me-nots. Under the amber glow of the late afternoon sun, the meadow comes alive with a soft, soothing hum of foraging insects and the distant, lazy notes of a high-altitude songbird. For the young mule, this blooming world is entirely new. Now a sturdy weanling, he stands with his mother amid a sea of lush vegetation, experiencing his very first true summer. His coat, shedding the dense wool of his birth year, catches the golden light as he lifts his head to survey the vast, rolling terrain. Around him, the ecosystem thrives in hyper-acceleration, making the most of a brief, sunlit growing season where every plant rushes to flower and set seed before the autumn chill returns. His growing limbs test the soft, springy turf beneath his hooves with quiet confidence. With every soft step he takes through the rich flora, the young equid absorbs the serene rhythm of the highlands. The world here is expansive, quiet, and profoundly still, bathed in a golden warmth that invites deep, restorative rest. A few steps away from his mother's side, the young mule lowers his muzzle to the earth. The transition from mother's milk to the rich banquet of the alpine meadow is a slow, instinctual art, guided by an innate wisdom passed down through generations. His lips, remarkably sensitive and prehensile, skim over the low-growing vegetation. Unlike horses, which often graze indiscriminately, the mule inherits a selective, browsing palate from his donkey ancestry. He reaches past the coarser grasses to pluck the tender, nutrient-dense leaves of a mountain dandelion, rich in calcium and iron essential for his lengthening bones. With deliberate care, he tests each stem before the soft crunch of plant matter joins the quiet symphony of the pasture. His developing teeth grind the fibrous stems, kick-starting a digestive tract uniquely adapted to these unforgiving heights. Inside his growing frame, specialized microbes begin the slow, efficient fermentation of tough cellulose, extracting every drop of moisture and energy from the highland flora. A few yards away, a mature mare pauses from her own unhurried grazing, offering a reassuring flick of her ears. The weanling lifts his head, chewing thoughtfully as he watches her select a patch of clover. Mimicking her steady rhythm, he lowers his muzzle once more to explore the fragrant soil, slowly building the strength and knowledge that will sustain him through all the seasons to come. Beneath the warming glow of the late afternoon sun, the young mule's quiet grazing is supported by an extraordinary biological inheritance. As a hybrid, he bridges two worlds, possessing a unique physiological blueprint that sets him apart from both horses and donkeys. His digestive system is a marvel of evolutionary design, combining the generous hindgut capacity of the equine family with the exceptional metabolic resilience of the asinines. Inside his compact, sturdy frame, digestion is a slow and deliberate art. Because high-altitude vegetation must endure intense ultraviolet light and rapid temperature swings, its cell walls are exceptionally tough and fibrous. Yet, the Wenling's specialized microbial ecosystem within the cecum and large colon is remarkably adept at breaking down these stubborn structures. Where other animals might struggle to extract nourishment from woody stems and coarse mountain grasses, his system operates with enhanced efficiency, wringing every last calorie and trace mineral from sparse forage. This hybrid advantage means his developing body absorbs nutrients with remarkable thoroughness. Minerals like phosphorus and magnesium, locked deep within the tissues of Alpine forbs, are processed and utilized to fortify his lengthening bones and growing joints. It is a quiet, internal alchemy happening beneath a soft summer coat, turning resilient mountain plants into enduring strength. With every mouthful, the young mule is building a constitution designed for the steep trails and thin air of the heights, resting securely in the biological gifts of his heritage as the warm day softly lingers. With his belly comfortably full and his digestion steadily humming away, the young mule turns his attention outward, venturing further across the wide expanse of the Alpine plateau. His legs, noticeably longer and stronger than they were during the fragile weeks of spring, carry him with a newfound, confident grace. Each step across the gentle, rolling slopes and rock-strewn pasture edges is fluid and sure, a testament to rapid skeletal development and improving muscular coordination. As he roams further from the maternal mare, curiosity guides his path. He pauses frequently, lifting his head to test the air currents that drift across the high basin. His long, velvety ears swivel independently, catching the distant, rhythmic hum of summer insects and the soft rustling of grasses swaying in the breeze. These moments of quiet stillness reveal the calm, contemplative nature inherited from his lineage. He is an animal finely tuned to his environment, taking in the vast, peaceful mountain vistas with wide, dark eyes. Navigating the uneven terrain requires subtle adjustments in balance. He steps carefully over a weathered outcrop of gray granite, his hooves placing themselves with a natural, sure-footed placement that hints at his donkey ancestry. There is no rush in his movements, only a steady, unhurried exploration of the world around him. Every slope he climbs and every hollow he investigates builds his agility, preparing his growing body for the rugged demands of the high country. Bathed in the golden illumination of the late afternoon, he moves like a shadow across the meadow, completely at home in the quiet majesty of the summer heights. The pace of the afternoon slows as radiant warmth blankets the high meadow. The sun, hanging low in the western sky, casts a golden amber glow over the expansive grasslands, bathing every blade of grass and blooming Alpine forb in steady, soothing heat. Feeling the deep, penetrating warmth on his coat, the young mule gradually comes to a gentle halt. He stands completely still in a patch of wild clover, letting his muscles relax entirely. In this quiet stillness, his body engages in the vital work of rest and restoration. Thermoregulation at high altitudes requires subtle adjustments, and the warm ambient air allows his heart rate to ease into a slower, more meditative rhythm. His eyelids grow heavy, drooping softly as the ambient sounds of the mountain wash over him. A gentle summer breeze whispers through the rustling grass, carrying the faint, sweet scent of sun-baked earth and crushed mint. All around him, the low, steady humming of pollinator insects creates a natural, hypnotic white noise that hums against the stillness of the air. He rests his weight unevenly on a single hind hoof, letting the other dangle in total relaxation. His long ears tilt back and forth lazily, no longer tracking sounds with intense curiosity, but simply registering the peaceful atmosphere of the high plateau. The entire landscape seems to exhale, settling into a profound, tranquil calm. With every slow, deep breath he takes, the tension of the day melts away, leaving only the steady warmth of the sun and the quiet rhythm of the mountain world falling gently into slumber. As the afternoon begins to yield to evening, long, indigo shadows stretch gracefully across the vibrant Alpine plateau. The sun inches closer to the jagged western peaks, trading its direct, blazing amber for a softer, pearlescent glow. The temperature shifts rapidly in the high country, dropping by several degrees as the solar warmth fades from the soil. This sudden cooling triggers a natural surge of fresh energy in the young mule, prompting him to lift his drooping head, fold his ears forward, and gently stretch his growing legs. Turning away from his resting spot, he wanders a short distance through the cooling clover, navigating back toward the familiar silhouette of the maternal mare. She stands quietly near a drift of weathered granite, her coat catching the last honey-colored rays of daylight. Reconnecting with her offers a comforting return to herd security, anchoring his developing mind in the steady calm of her presence. Mother and son share a quiet, tender moment of mutual grooming. Nosing along each other's shoulders and withers, they release tension through rhythmic, gentle contact that reinforces their strong social bond. The mare's steady breathing and calm demeanor provide a living anchor as twilight approaches. Around them, the humming insects slowly quiet their cadence, replaced by the hushed whispers of the evening breeze rustling through the high-altitude grasses. The vast mountain basin settles into a profound hush, wrapped in the quiet stillness of an oncoming alpine night. As the summer sun begins its slow descent toward the jagged western peaks, the high alpine meadow softens in a wash of warm amber light. A gentle evening wind whispers through the sparse mountain grasses and rustles the low-hanging leaves of the dwarf willows, carrying on its breath the faint, crystalline promise of moving water. From this elevated vantage point, the terrain slopes downward in a series of terraced benches toward the valley floor, where a network of rocky riverbanks waits in the deepening shadows. Guiding the way with steady, deliberate grace, the mare picks her path along the dusty trail. Close behind her follows her weanling mule, a long-legged young hybrid taking in the sensory tapestry of the fading day. Every soft footstep on the dry gravel produces a quiet, rhythmic crunch, underscored by the distant, soothing rumble of a glacial stream rushing over ancient stones. As they move downward, the air shifts from the sun-baked warmth of the afternoon to a crisp, cooling freshness. The weanling tilts its large, expressive ears forward, tuning in to the welcoming music of the river below. This young equid is growing quickly, its hybrid physiology already beginning to display the hardy traits inherited from both its donkey sire and horse dam. Its growing body is remarkably well suited for these rugged elevations, where every descent requires careful navigation and every breath demands efficient oxygen use in the thin mountain air. With each slow, measured stride down the winding trail, the tension of the day melts away into the quiet serenity of the dusk, drawing the small family closer to the reviving chill of the snowmelt below. The descent ends at the water's edge, where a glacial stream cuts through the valley floor, fed by the slow, eternal weeping of distant ice fields. Crystal clear snowmelt rushes over smooth gray stones, tumbling in gentle white froth that gleams under the bruised violet and gold of the evening sky. A distinct drop in temperature marks the boundary of the riverbank. Cool, moisture-laden air rises from the current, offering an instant, refreshing balm to sun-warmed coats. The mare steps carefully into the shallows, her dark muzzle lowering toward the surface. She begins to drink, her strong jaws drawing in the icy liquid in rhythmic, quiet swallows. Beside her, the weanling mimics the motion, plunging its soft muzzle into the current. This cold water does more than merely quench a summer thirst. It initiates a delicate physiological balance. Equids possess a remarkable capacity for rapid fluid absorption, allowing their bodies to quickly restore blood volume and cellular hydration after strenuous climbs through arid mountain passes. As the young mule drinks deeply, the crisp snowmelt washes away the dust of the Alpine trail. The ambient sounds of the rushing stream weave a steady, hypnotic backdrop, a continuous murmur of water slipping over bedrock and polishing smooth river stones. A soft, damp breeze drifts across the bank, rustling the pale leaves of nearby sedges and carrying the clean, mineral scent of ancient stone and melting frost. The herd lingers here in the gathering twilight, shoulder deep in the soothing chill, letting the vitality of the river restore them as night settles gently over the valley. This vital replenishment at the water's edge highlights a marvel of biological engineering. Like its donkey ancestor, the mule possesses exceptional internal economy when it comes to managing precious moisture. While horses often require frequent, large volumes of water, mules have evolved conservative physiological mechanisms that make them remarkably resilient in dry, rocky environments. Their bodies can tolerate a higher degree of fluid loss without compromising cardiovascular function, and when they finally reach a source like this glacial stream, they absorb water through the intestinal tract with astonishing efficiency. Internal temperature regulation is equally refined. As the warm summer sun gives way to the cooling shadows of dusk, the young mule's coat lies flat against skin that has avoided overheating all afternoon. Equids manage excess heat primarily through cutaneous evaporation, sweating, which can quickly deplete systemic water reserves and essential electrolytes. Yet, the mule's hybrid physiology allows for a slightly lower basal metabolic rate during warm daylight hours, reducing internal heat production before the evening chill sets in. This efficient balance extends directly to digestion. The coarsened alpine grasses and tough sedges chewed throughout the day require prolonged fermentation, a process that naturally generates internal warmth and demands substantial moisture within the hindgut. By drinking deeply of the icy snowmelt, the weanling introduces the exact fluids needed to soften stubborn plant fibers in the cecum, ensuring that nutrient extraction continues smoothly through the night. The chilled water circulates quietly through its growing frame, cooling internal organs and restoring equilibrium from nose to hoof. With its thirst quenched and its internal balance restored, the young mule turns its attention to the immediate terrain beneath its slender legs. Soft hoof steps on gravel sound a gentle rhythm against the backdrop of the flowing stream. The wendling steps carefully from the water's edge onto a mosaic of smooth river stones and damp, dark silt deposited by the receding glacier. Its hooves are distinct architectural marvels. Unlike the wider, flatter soles of some horses, the mule's hooves are narrower, more upright, and remarkably dense. This specialized anatomy is an inheritance from its donkey lineage, designed explicitly for navigating treacherous, rocky landscapes with unwavering poise. Each wall of the hoof is tough and elastic, absorbing the blunt force of jagged granite while flexing naturally to grip uneven surfaces. As it explores the wet riverbank, the young animal places each foot with deliberate, innate caution. There is no hurried stumbling, but rather a calm, calculated assessment of the ground. When a loose stone shifts beneath its weight, Proprioceptive sensors in the lower limbs instantly relay signals to the developing nervous system, prompting a micro-adjustment that maintains perfect equilibrium. The damp soil yields slightly, leaving neat, crescent impressions that trace its cautious path along the watercourse. A gentle wind rustles the nearby alpine leaves, carrying the cool scent of wet stone and pine as the day surrenders to twilight. The wendling pauses on a flat slab of river-washed granite, resting one hind foot with the toe lightly touching the earth in a posture of complete ease. Secure in its footing and comforted by the murmuring current, it stands as a quiet testament to the enduring grace of the high wilderness. The fading summer sun dips below the jagged ridgeline, painting the high wilderness in long, sweeping strokes of amber and violet. The rushing glacial stream transforms into a ribbon of liquid bronze, catching the final horizontal rays of daylight and casting a warm, shimmering glow across the wet stones and the resting herd. Every ripple in the clear snowmelt carries dancing reflections of the burning sky, mirroring the peaceful transition from the heat of the day into the cooling embrace of twilight. As the ambient light softens, the sounds of the alpine ecosystem begin to quiet. The distant, lonely call of a high-altitude bird echoes softly across the valley before fading into the steady, hypnotic melody of the flowing stream. A gentle wind moves down the mountain draw, rustling the needles of the pine trees and carrying the earthy scent of damp soil and cooling granite. It is a slow, rhythmic hush that settles over the rocky riverbanks, wrapping the landscape in a deep, meditative calm. Standing near the water's edge, the young mule breathes in the cool, moisture-laden air. Its dark silhouette is framed against the golden luminescence of the water, embodying the quiet resilience of the high country. There is no urgency now, only the steady rhythm of nature winding down. The family group remains close together on the river-washed stones, resting in a tranquil stillness as the first pale stars begin to puncture the deepening velvet of the evening sky. The wilderness slowly blurs into shadow, cradled by the murmuring current and the silent, enduring grace of the alpine night. Slowly, the mare shifts her weight, her soft muzzle lowering to nudge the warm shoulder of her foal. With a soft sigh that stirs the dust at her hooves, she lowers her bulk to the cool earth, folding her long legs gracefully beneath her. Emulating his mother, the weanling mule lets out a long, contented breath and lowers his own slender frame to the ground. He settles onto the soft, needle-strewn soil just a few paces from the water's edge, his growing body radiating the gentle warmth of a summer's day well spent. As they rest, their digestive tracts continue their quiet, efficient work in the background. The coarse alpine sedges and fibrous grasses they grazed upon earlier are already undergoing steady fermentation within the cecum, extracting every vital nutrient and drop of moisture from the sparse vegetation. This internal furnace hums quietly, a biological marvel inherited from equine ancestry, perfectly tuned to sustain life in these rugged, demanding heights. With his belly full and his fluid balance restored, the young mule's heavy eyelids begin to droop. The steady, white noise rush of the glacial stream fills the cool evening air, blending with the gentle whispering of the mountain wind through the pines. His breathing slows, matching the rhythmic cadence of the flowing current. Secure within the tight-knit circle of the resting herd, surrounded by the granite sentinels of the high peaks, the foal finally surrenders to the deepening shadows. The quiet wilderness watches over him, cradled in the tranquil peace of the alpine night. As the golden light of the midsummer sun slips below the jagged crests of the high alpine ridge, the turbulent energy of the day gently dissolves into the quietude of evening. High in this sheltered granitic basin, the warm amber glow recedes, leaving the massive stone boulders to slowly release the sun's gathered heat into the cooling air. Long indigo shadows stretch smoothly across the knee-high grasses and alpine clover, painting the landscape in soothing, muted tones. The young weanling mule pauses its evening grazing, lifting its head from the sweet meadow greens. Having spent the daylight hours building the energetic reserves required for growth, the growing hybrid feels the profound, ancient rhythm of the turning day. Thermoregulation begins to shift as the ambient mountain temperature dips. The dense summer coat of the young mule adjusts to the crisp night air, conserving precious internal warmth against the descending chill. Sensing the subtle, collective stillness settling over the landscape, the juvenile slowly picks its way across the uneven terrain, moving closer to the protective, solid presence of the adult female. In the fading light, the surrounding ecosystem undergoes its nightly transformation. A chorus of crickets begins to warm up in the damp soil beneath the granite rocks, their rhythmic chirping weaving a steady, hypnotic backdrop for the resting basin. A gentle summer breeze whispers softly through the rustling grass blades, carrying the clean scents of pine resin and cool earth. Close by, the adult female exhales a deep, resonant sigh, a low, rhythmic cadence that signals safety and calm to her dependent foal, drawing the young mule ever closer to the comforting embrace of the starlit night. To understand the rest that now claims the young mule, one must look deep into the ancient blueprint of the equid. Unlike human beings or apex predators who surrender to hours of continuous, vulnerable unconsciousness, the weanling belongs to a lineage of prey species. In the wild high country, absolute stillness for long stretches can be a perilous gamble. Instead of a single, unbroken block of nighttime slumber, equine sleep architecture is wonderfully modular, divided into short, efficient intervals scattered across both day and night. The young mule does not need, nor could it safely survive, hours of uninterrupted deep sleep on the open ground. Nature has designed its biology for perpetual readiness, allowing the growing hybrid to accumulate necessary rest in clever, fractured installments. Crucially, this sleep cycle is divided into two distinct states: standing dozing and recumbent slumber. While dozing on its feet, the juvenile can drift into light, restorative rest while remaining entirely prepared to flee at a moment's notice. This remarkable capacity is managed by the stay apparatus, an intricate network of tendons and ligaments in the limbs that locks the joints in place with minimal muscular effort. Standing almost effortlessly, the young mule rests its mind and body simultaneously, conserving precious metabolic energy without sacrificing vigilance. Yet, like all equids, the growing foal still requires moments of deep, restorative rapid eye movement sleep that can only truly occur when lying flat. As the starlit canopy deepens above the granite basin, the young mule's biology prepares to strike this vital, delicate balance between total physical release and the watchful instincts written into its very bones. Within the shadowed quiet of the Alpine Basin, the young mule demonstrates one of nature's most ingenious mechanical marvels. To the casual observer, the slender-legged weanling appears entirely at ease, resting in the cool midsummer air with its head slightly lowered and one hind hoof cocked, beneath the velvety softness of its winter-fading coat. However, an extraordinary internal scaffolding is hard at work. This is the stay apparatus, an intricate biological locking system woven from specialized tendons, ligaments, and fascia. When the young mule adopts this posture, its joints are securely pinned into place with almost zero muscular exertion. It does not need to actively fight gravity to remain upright. The knees and hocks are subtly braced, allowing the heavy frame to rest comfortably without fatigue. For a growing herbivore navigating a landscape populated by sharp-eyed predators, this standing rest is a vital survival strategy. While the cerebral cortex drifts into a light, restorative slumber, the limbs remain primed. There is no cumbersome delay of scrambling up from the earth. Should an unfamiliar rustle disturb the soft mountain grasses, the biological locks can disengage in a fraction of a second. The animal can transition instantly from gentle dozing into a powerful, bounding gallop. This silent architecture of tendons grants the weanling the profound luxury of conserving precious energy through the cool hours of the night. It rests deeply, yet stands completely vigilant, anchored securely to the earth by slender limbs designed by millions of years of evolutionary wisdom. Yet, standing slumber, for all its clever mechanics, is only a half measure. While it offers a valuable respite for tired muscles, it cannot satisfy the brain's deepest biological demands. True restoration, the kind that heals growing tissues, consolidates memories, and rejuvenates the nervous system, requires a complete surrender to gravity. It requires rapid eye movement, or REM, sleep. For a young mule, this vulnerable state is impossible while upright, because the muscles that maintain the stay apparatus must be entirely relaxed. Complete muscle atonia occurs only when the animal relinquishes its footing and lowers its entire frame to the ground. Beside the protective warmth of its mother, who stands sentinel with steady breath and swiveling ears, the wenling finally folds its slender limbs. It tucks its legs neatly beneath its warm body and lowers its heavy head onto the soft, cool alpine turf of the sheltered hollow. In this moment of absolute trust and profound safety, the young herbivore gives in to the sweet pull of exhaustion. Inside its dreaming mind, distant sounds fade to a muted rhythm. The steady, slow rise and fall of its ribcage begins, a rhythmic tide of breath that matches the gentle, whispering summer breeze moving through the nearby grasses. Every now and then, a velvet-soft ear twitches instinctively, and a tiny shiver ripples across the chestnut coat as fleeting dreams sweep through the subconscious. For these few precious minutes, the young mule experiences the deepest, most restorative peace of the midsummer night, cradled safely by the ancient mountains. Even as the young mule rests upon the cool turf, its most remarkable evolutionary tools remain actively engaged with the world. Those elongated, expressive ears, a cherished inheritance from donkey ancestry, are never truly offline. Supported by a complex network of auricular muscles, they pivot independently in wide, sweeping arcs, capturing the rich acoustic tapestry of the summer night. A steady, rhythmic chorus of crickets chirps from the granite crevices, blending with the soft rustling of alpine grass stirred by the midnight breeze. Far down the valley, the haunting call of a nocturnal bird echoes softly against the ancient rocks. Every rustle, snap, and whisper washes over the listening post of the resting animal. The mule's brain expertly categorizes these ambient vibrations, distinguishing the benign whisper of shifting air from the subtle, foreign snap of a twig. This dual capacity for profound physical restoration and continuous auditory monitoring is a masterclass in mammalian vigilance. It allows the hybrid to drift near the threshold of slumber while remaining tethered to its environment by sound alone. Without needing to lift its head, the weanling processes the nocturnal symphony, translating the language of the wilderness into a reassuring lullaby. The long ears twitch in opposite directions, one tuned to the maternal breathing beside it, the other scanning the perimeter of the sheltered hollow. This effortless navigation between deep relaxation and environmental awareness creates a cocoon of safety, wrapping the growing youngster in a gentle, vigilant peace beneath the brilliant starlight. High above the sheltered granite basin, the midsummer night sky stretches out in an immense, glittering canopy. Millions of ancient stars cast a silvery, ethereal glow over the rugged mountain valley, bathing the sleeping landscape in soft, celestial light. The air grows crisper as the hours drift onward toward the pre-dawn stillness. Yet the atmosphere retains a comforting, sun-warmed memory held within the massive stones. Within the quiet hollow, the young weanling mule stirs ever so slightly against the cool turf. Shifting its weight with quiet grace, the growing hybrid exhales a long, soft sigh into the cooling air. A delicate plume of warm breath vanishes into the gentle summer breeze, mingling with the low, steady rustle of the alpine grasses. This gentle exhalation carries away the final traces of diurnal restlessness, leaving behind a profound and unbroken tranquility. The peaceful rhythm of the mountain basin deepens, cradled by the unchanging constancy of the natural world. Around the resting youngster, the adult herd members remain silhouetted against the starlight, steadfast guardians of the night. Every element of the environment, from the rhythmic chirping of distant crickets to the steady, reassuring rise and fall of the mother's flank, weaves together a seamless tapestry of peace. Underneath the vast expanse of summer stars, time seems to slow its relentless march. The landscape rests in a state of restorative grace, wrapped in a blanket of darkness that promises renewal. The weary world grows quiet, holding its breath in the velvet shadows, perfectly poised on the gentle threshold of the coming dawn. High above the timberline, a heavy blanket of cool summer mist rests gently upon the sprawling Alpine plateau. This dense blanket of ground fog softens the rugged contours of the ancient earth, turning sharp granite outcrops and weathered ridges into soft, dreamlike silhouettes. In the pre-dawn stillness, the world feels wonderfully isolated, hushed beneath a ceiling of gray vapor that muffles the distant, steady rush of a mountain stream. Air temperatures at this high elevation have dropped significantly through the night, triggering physiological thermoregulation across the resting herd. Equids possess specialized blood vessels in their skin that constrict to preserve core warmth against the mountain chill, prompting the animals to gather close in restful repose. The thick mist hangs heavy with moisture, clinging to the tips of dew-kissed bunchgrass and the long winter coats that are slowly shedding for summer. Within this damp, quiet shroud, sound travels differently. A soft snort from a resting mare echoes with a muted, rounded quality, absorbed almost instantly by the moisture-laden air. The gentle wind moves in barely perceptible breaths, carrying the rich, earthy perfumes of damp peat, crushed alpine clover, and cool stone. Every inhalation is an act of deep sensory gathering, as the sleeping animals absorb the quiet chemistry of their resting environment. Forms are barely visible in the milky gloom, merely dark, substantial shapes resting peacefully upon the high meadows. There is no urgency here, only the profound, restorative quiet of the nocturnal hours holding steady just before the dawn begins its slow, inevitable ascent across the sleeping world. In the milky twilight of the plateau, vision is of little use, so the young mule relies on a masterclass of hidden senses. While its eyes rest in the deep gloom, the wendling's long, articulated ears swivel independently, catching the faintest whispers of the alpine night. One ear tilts backward to monitor the soft, rhythmic breathing of its mother resting just behind, while the other pivots forward, cupping the air to map the landscape through sound alone. It isolates the subtle rustling of dew-laden grass against fur, and the rhythmic, musical cadence of the distant stream tumbling over smooth stones miles away. Even more sophisticated than its hearing is the mule's invisible world of scent. In the cool, moisture-heavy air of the pre-dawn hours, scent molecules linger close to the earth, trapped by the damp fog. The young mule extends its soft muzzle, flaring its nostrils to draw in the rich tapestry of the meadow. It encounters the familiar, comforting pheromones of the herd, chemical signatures of identity, kinship, and calm that reinforce social bonds without a single movement. Curled slightly in the wet grass, the weanling also detects the sharp, ozone-tinged scent of melting snowfields high above, mixed with the musky trace of a passing marmot that scurried through the boulders hours earlier. By lifting its upper lip in a silent, specialized grimace known as the flamen response, The young equid forces air into the vomeronasal organ on the roof of its mouth. This hidden sensory chamber decodes a complex library of environmental information, allowing the mule to read the invisible history of the night through taste and smell alone, perfectly attuned to the quiet rhythms of the sleeping mountain world. Beyond the private world of scent and taste, the resting herd communicates in a language built entirely of stillness and micro-movements. In the gray, woolly light, social cohesion is maintained not by sound, but by the quiet architecture of touch and posture. The matriarch, lying just a few paces away, shifts her weight with a slow, deliberate heave, her flank rising and falling in a deep, hypnotic rhythm. The subtle vibration travels through the damp turf, a tactile pulse that reassures the surrounding family group of her steady presence. Without opening her eyes, an older mare stretches her neck outward, sweeping her velvety muzzle across the grass until it brushes gently against the flank of a companion. This brief, feather-light contact is an ancient equine greeting, an effortless exchange of familiar scent that reinforces kinship and dissolves any lingering tension from the night. The weanling watches, absorbing these silent lessons in herd dynamics. It observes how the horses angle their shoulders to block the gentle drift of mountain air, creating microclimates of shared warmth that assist in thermoregulation during the chilliest hours before dawn. Every breath is measured, harmonized with the resting collective. When one animal exhales a soft, warm snort that condenses into a tiny plume of mist, the rest of the circle acknowledges it with a synchronized twitch of skin or a flick of a tail. There is no need for dominance displays or vocal calls in this sanctuary of shadow. Instead, the family rests as a singular, fluid organism, bound together by chemistry, quiet respiration, and the profound safety of numbers in the sleeping Alpine expanse. High above the timberline, an invisible current stirs the sleeping air. A subtle drop in humidity brushes across the plateau, signaling the delicate transition from the still, saturated night to the approaching dawn. This shifting breeze carries an entirely new layer of information, sweeping upward from the damp pine forests and rushing streams of the lower valleys on invisible thermal waves. The resting herd responds instantly to the atmospheric change. As the cooler air rolls over the plateau, it carries the rich, complex chemistry of distant flora, crushed juniper needles, and damp earth. The equids do not raise their heads. Instead, they flare their nostrils just slightly, fine-tuning their sense of smell to decode the invisible message riding on the wind. Olfactory communication shifts from the familiar, comforting scent of herdmates to the broader ecological canvas of the waking mountain. Inside the nasal cavity, specialized receptors, the vomeronasal organs, capture these foreign molecules, analyzing the microscopic shifts in temperature and moisture that herald the new day. The gentle wind whispers through the high-altitude grasses, creating a soft, rustling harmony with the distant, murmuring stream far below. Every breath draws in the crisp, renewing oxygen, cooling the blood slightly before the exertion of the morning sun. The wendling inhales deeply, its chest expanding in a slow, rhythmic arc. The changing air acts as a gentle alarm clock for the entire plateau, clearing away the heavy vapors of the night and replacing them with a refreshing clarity. The atmosphere grows lighter, charged with the quiet anticipation of the sun breaking over the eastern ridge, while the lingering mist begins to dissolve into the widening sky. As the first pearlescent light begins to dissolve the heavy ground fog, the young mule stirs against the damp earth. Resting in the high-altitude meadow through the chill of the night has required careful thermoregulation, keeping the metabolic furnace steady beneath a thickening summer coat. Now, responding to the subtle warming of the atmosphere and the rising cadence of early birdsong from the stunted pines, the weanling prepares to greet the new day. With a smooth, unhurried motion, the young equid bends its knees, tucks its hindquarters, and rises effortlessly from the dew-kissed grass. Standing tall on slender legs, it engages in a full-body stretch, extending its neck forward and upward while pointing long ears toward the lightening horizon. A gentle shudder ripples through the supple hide, shaking off the accumulated moisture of the night's heavy condensation and releasing a soft, mist-softened snort into the quiet air. Nearby, the rest of the herd mirrors the movement, shifting weight and stretching weary muscles in harmonious sync. The weanling arches its back briefly, loosening developing joints that have grown stiff in the pre-dawn chill, before settling into a posture of calm, steady alertness. The air around them is crisp and refreshing, carrying the faint, clean scent of crushed mountain clover and cool stone, bathed in the soft, diffused glow of the approaching sunrise. The young mule stands poised at the edge of the plateau, perfectly attuned to the tranquil rhythms of the waking mountain world. The eastern sky now softens from indigo to a wash of palest rose, casting a luminous sheen across the blanket of retreating mist. High above the plateau, the first direct rays of sunlight catch the jagged crown of the distant peaks, transforming the frost-tipped stone into amber and gold. This gradual shift in illumination triggers a universal, instinctual readiness within the resting band. The subtle drop in relative humidity and the slow rise in ambient temperature signal the biological transition from nocturnal conservation to daytime foraging. The mature mares lift their heads in unison, nostrils flaring to sample the warming air currents that now drift upward from the lower valleys. These thermal drafts carry rich, unseen promises of the day, the heavy, sweet fragrance of sun-warmed timothy grass and the mineral tang of distant seeps. Every member of the herd stands statuesque and tranquil, absorbing the life-giving photons that begin to pierce the damp shadows of the high pasture. Energy returns slowly to muscles that rested through the coldest hours. The young mule takes a soft, deliberate step forward, its hooves pressing gently into the yielding turf. It lowers its muzzle to test the dew-drenched vegetation at its feet, though it does not yet graze. Instead, it pauses, simply basking in the tranquil stillness. The herd is poised on the threshold of morning, breathing in the quiet expanse of the Alpine world, perfectly balanced between the peaceful slumber of the night and the gentle, sunlit rhythm of the coming day. High above the timberline, where the jagged peaks of the Grand Range cradle the sky, the first golden fingers of dawn reach across the high-altitude meadow. A gentle morning breeze carries the crisp scent of pine and crushed alpine sage, rustling the sea of dew-covered wildflowers that paint the valley in brilliant shades of violet and gold. Far off in the timber, a solitary thrush begins its liquid, cascading song, welcoming the new day. In a sheltered hollow of rich emerald grass, a young mule slowly stirs. Having spent the rich summer growing strong and confident, the weanling opens soft, dark eyes and unfurls its long limbs. Equids are well adapted to the biting chill of high mountain nights. Their dense summer coats and efficient counter-current vascular systems conserve core body heat through the darkest hours. Yet, as the sun crests the eastern ridge, the physiological drive for solar thermoregulation takes over. The weanling heaves a long, contented sigh, a soft, misty snort escaping its velvety muzzle into the cool dawn air. With a clumsy grace, the young hybrid pushes up from the earth, shaking the diamond-like beads of heavy morning dew from its coat. It stretches first its forelegs, extending them far forward, and then arches its back in a satisfying, full-body yawn. The early sunlight strikes its growing frame, bathing the hide in radiant warmth that immediately begins to stimulate peripheral blood circulation, easing the muscles after hours of rest. Standing knee-deep in a pristine tapestry of alpine buttercups and native clover, the weanling blinks against the brilliant glare, entirely at peace in the tranquil, sun-drenched sanctuary of the high pasture. With the morning chill fading from the valley, the young mule turns its attention to an ancient, instinctive ritual. Grooming is an absolute necessity for equid health, serving as a vital natural defense against ectoparasites, while removing the remnants of heavy winter underfur that still cling to its growing flanks. Spotting a weathered, sun-baked granite boulder rising from the meadow grass, the weanling approaches with slow, deliberate steps. It presses its shoulder firmly against the coarse stone, leaning into the hard surface with half-closed eyes. A deep, shuddering sigh of relief ripples through its frame as it scratches an itch born from hours of motionless sleep. The rhythmic friction stimulates the sebaceous glands in the skin, releasing natural oils that condition the hair and enhance the coat's waterproofing against sudden mountain storms. Moving away from the stone, the wendling drops gracefully to the dew-kissed earth, surrendering to the irresistible urge to roll. With legs kicking gently toward the bright blue sky, it thrashes from side to side in the fragrant clover, dusting its skin with cool soil and crushed dandelion heads. This dusty bath provides further protection from biting insects buzzing softly in the warming air. Scrambling back to its hooves with a vigorous shake, the young mule sends a tiny cloud of sparkling golden dust into the morning light. Its skin tingles with renewed circulation, fully alive and prepared for the day ahead. Energized by the crisp alpine breeze and the tingling warmth of renewed circulation, the young mule turns its bright, intelligent gaze toward a small group of peer weanlings gathered near a slow-moving stream. Play is a critical cornerstone of equid development, providing the rigorous neurological conditioning and muscular coordination required to navigate the jagged, unpredictable terrain of the high mountains. Approaching with a jaunty, lifted stride, the mule greets a familiar bay companion with soft, rumbling snorts and a gentle exchange of breath muzzle to muzzle. This ritualized sniffing reinforces early social bonds and communicates subtle shifts in mood within the shifting juvenile hierarchy. Suddenly, a spark of spontaneous energy ripples through the small circle. With a playful squeal, one of the foals spins on its haunches and bolts toward the edge of the meadow. Instantly, the wendling gives chase, its hooves dancing lightly over the dew-drenched clover and rustling wildflowers. They engage in brief, exuberant bursts of trotting and mock sparring, rearing gently with pinned ears and tossing their heads in a harmless display of youthful bravado. These spirited games are far from aimless. Every leap, twist, and sudden stop tests their growing skeletal frame, strengthening tendon elasticity and sharpening the lightning-fast reflexes that will safeguard them from predators later in life. As the energetic sprint naturally slows to a relaxed walk, the young ones stand shoulder to shoulder, sides gently rising and falling as they catch their breath in the quiet morning air. With the exuberant energy of play gently fading into a state of calm alertness, the young mule turns its attention toward the rich botanical bounty of the Alpine meadow. Surviving these unforgiving heights requires a sophisticated palate, and the weanling is rapidly learning the art of selective foraging under the guidance of summer's abundance. It approaches a dense patch of velvet-leafed clover and pale blue alpine forget-me-nots, lowering its velvety muzzle to the earth. The equid's upper lip is a marvel of tactile engineering, prehensile, highly sensitive, and densely packed with nerve endings. Gently parting the vegetation, the mule bypasses coarse, unpalatable stems and zeroes in on the most nutrient-dense vegetation available. Its strong, flat molars sweep rhythmically from side to side, grinding down calcium-rich grasses and tender flowering forbs that provide the essential building blocks for rapid bone and muscle development. Every bite is a deliberate choice. The high-altitude flora has only a few short weeks to complete its life cycle, packing its leaves with concentrated proteins and vital minerals. The mule plucks a mouthful of sweet alpine timothy, interspersed with medicinal yarrow known to aid digestion. As it chews, The gentle, rhythmic sound blends harmoniously with the soft rustling of wildflowers swaying in the morning breeze and the low hum of industrious bees visiting nearby blossoms. Digestive physiology dictates this slow, continuous grazing pattern. Unlike ruminants, the young mule processes its fibrous diet through hindgut fermentation, utilizing a specialized cecum to break down tough plant cell walls efficiently. By grazing steadily rather than gorging, it maintains a steady flow of nutrients into its system, sustaining its growing frame while enjoying the tranquil, sun-warmed tranquility of the mountain meadow. As the morning warmth deepens across the high pasture, the family group shifts their unhurried journey toward a weathered rocky outcrop. Here, ancient geological forces have exposed a natural mineral lick, a dusty, reddish deposit rich in sodium, calcium, and trace elements vital for the rigorous demands of summer growth. The mature mule leads the way, her steps measured and deliberate. She reaches the mineral-rich earth and begins to ingest small quantities of the saline soil, a behavior driven by a profound physiological need to replenish electrolytes lost through summer perspiration and to support her ongoing vitality. Standing close beside her, the young weanling observes every movement with sleepy, attentive eyes. Copying its mother, the young equid lowers its muzzle to the mineral earth. Its sensitive upper lip investigates the textured surface before it takes a cautious taste. This shared ritual is more than a momentary indulgence. It is a critical lesson in survival lore, passed quietly from generation to generation across the rugged alpine landscape. The ingested minerals dissolve into the young mule's system, absorbing directly into the bloodstream to fortify the expanding skeletal framework, strengthen developing teeth, and optimize nerve function. Nearby, a gentle mountain breeze carries the faint scent of damp stone and wild thyme. The soft, rhythmic sound of muffled snorts and the quiet shifting of hooves against gravel blend with the distant, steady hum of insects awakening in the sunshine. Satisfied, the weanling lifts its head, its nutritional requirements met for the moment, and lets out a long, relaxed sigh as the peaceful tranquility of the high slopes settles deep into its bones. As the sun climbs higher into the boundless azure sky, the vibrant morning energy begins to soften into a tranquil midday stillness. The gentle mountain breeze slows, carrying the warm, resinous scent of sun-baked pine needles across the meadow. Guided by the matriarch, the family group drifts toward the partial shade of scattered conifers standing sentinel at the edge of the timberline. Beneath the boughs of an ancient Douglas fir, a dappled canopy filters the bright alpine light into a soothing pattern of gold and shadow. This natural shelter offers vital relief from the rising solar radiation, utilizing shade as a behavioral tool for thermoregulation to prevent heat stress and maintain a stable core body temperature. Standing close against his mother's warm flank, the young mule lets his heavy eyelids drift shut. The energetic play and foraging of the morning dissolve into a profound, restorative peace. His breathing deepens, slow and rhythmic, matching the steady cadence of the adult equids resting nearby. Some stand with one hind hoof cocked in total relaxation, while others doze with lowered heads, their long ears occasionally twitching at the lazy buzz of a passing insect. In this quiet sanctuary, the physiological wonders of digestion quietly take over. The rich blend of summer grasses and nutrient-rich forbs consumed during the morning hours ferments slowly within the hindgut, generating a steady, internal warmth that blends seamlessly with the ambient summer air. Protected by the forest fringe and enveloped in the quiet safety of the herd, the growing weanling sinks deeper into a state of absolute contentment, resting peacefully as the long, golden afternoon gently begins. A cool, descending current slips down the high canyons, carrying the crisp, clean scent of frost and distant pine. Summer's lingering warmth dissolves into the mountain air, displaced by the quiet, undeniable arrival of autumn. High above the valley floor, the great aspen groves undergo a breathtaking alchemy. Leaves that were verdant green just weeks ago now burn in brilliant shades of amber, gold, and vibrant orange, trembling gently against a pale, cerulean sky. With each passing day, the Earth tilts slightly further on its axis, shortening the precious hours of daylight. This gradual reduction in sunlight serves as an ancient, reliable cue, a biological trigger known as the photoperiod response. Deep within the endocrine system of a solitary yearling mule, this shift initiates a cascade of natural preparations for the months ahead. Hormonal signals begin directing the young equid's body to transition, laying the biological foundation for survival in the coming snows. Standing quietly at the edge of the timberline, the yearling pauses. A gentle wind sweeps through the branches overhead, loosing a shower of golden leaves that flutter softly to the forest floor with a sound like falling rain. The yearling's large, sensitive ears swivel to catch the distant, fading song of a migratory thrush preparing for its own long journey south. Beneath the hooves, the ground is soft with a blanket of fallen foliage, every step punctuated by the muffled crunch of dry leaves and cured grasses. Bathed in the long, horizontal rays of the late afternoon sun, the young mule breathes in deeply, the tranquil atmosphere wrapping the landscape in a deep, restorative stillness as dusk begins to gather. High in the mountain sanctuary, this silent countdown is governed by specialized cells within the pineal gland. As the days grow noticeably briefer, the pineal gland reduces its daytime output of serotonin and increases melatonin production during the lengthening nights. This delicate biochemical shift acts as a master internal clock, whispering across every fiber of the yearling's growing frame that winter is on the horizon. In quiet response to these hormonal messengers, the yearling's physiology begins a remarkable transformation. The follicles beneath the summer skin receive new instructions, slowing the shedding cycle and initiating the growth of a dense, insulating undercoat. Each new hair shaft grows thicker and coarser, trapping tiny pockets of air close to the skin to create a highly efficient thermal barrier against the approaching frost. Metabolic pathways adjust in tandem with this coat development. Guided by the endocrine system, the young equid's body transitions toward energy conservation and nutrient retention. Digestion slows slightly to extract maximum caloric value from every mouthful of fading vegetation, ensuring that incoming nutrients are efficiently converted into essential fat reserves. Sensing these subtle internal changes, the yearling shifts its weight with a soft, relaxed sigh, exhaling a plume of warm breath into the cooling air. A gentle equine snort ripples through the stillness, answered by the reassuring movement of a nearby herd member in the amber shadows. The profound wisdom of the natural world pulses quietly through the gathering dusk, preparing the young mule for the peaceful slumber of the changing season. Beneath the surface of the yearling's skin, a sophisticated architecture of survival is taking shape. The emerging winter pelt is a true double coat, meticulously engineered by evolution to conquer the freezing mountain elements. Interspersed across the yearling's flanks, coarse, longer guard hairs begin to push outward. These specialized fibers function as an outer weather-resistant shield, tipped with natural oils that shed moisture, deflecting both cold autumn drizzle and drifting alpine snow away from the body. Closer to the skin, a marvel of biological insulation unfolds. A dense, incredibly soft underfur fills the spaces between the guard hairs, creating a thick, plush fleece. This secondary layer traps millions of microscopic air pockets, utilizing the body's natural heat to form a thermal barrier that cold winds simply cannot penetrate. As the late afternoon sun dips lower, casting long amber shadows across the hillside, the yearling shifts its weight, the new plush fibers rustling softly against one another. Each follicle works in silent harmony with the changing photoperiod, adjusting the angle of the hair shaft to maximize loft and trapping capacity. When the evening frost settles upon the quiet aspen grove, this remarkable double coat will stand erect, locking in warmth with effortless precision. The young mule stands peacefully in the fading light, completely wrapped in a tailored living blanket designed to weather the most demanding of northern winters. With the winter coat quietly securing its thermal defense, the yearling turns its full, undivided attention to the most pressing biological mandate of the season: fuel. Autumn in the high country offers a fleeting window of nutritional abundance before the deep freezes arrive. Moving deliberately through the rustling underbrush, the young equid lowers its muzzle to graze, selecting each bite with practiced precision. Instinct guides the yearling away from dried, fibrous summer grasses, directing its search toward nutrient-dense forbs, late-season clover, and the tender tips of mountain shrubs. Every mouthful is a concentrated package of carbohydrates and proteins. This intensive foraging behavior is governed by metabolic cues that tell the young animal to eat continuously as the days shorten. The yearling's digestive system works efficiently, processing high-energy vegetation to convert excess calories into a vital layer of subcutaneous fat. This metabolic reserve is an absolute necessity for surviving the coming months of scarcity, acting as both an internal energy bank and an additional layer of physiological insulation against the cold. The rhythmic sound of crisp grass crunching beneath steady hooves blends harmoniously with the gentle wind whispering through the golden aspen canopy. With every deliberate step and steady sweep of its head, the yearling builds the physical capital required to endure the long alpine winter, living in perfect synchrony with the turning season. As the late afternoon sun descends toward the jagged peaks of the western ridge, the high-altitude atmosphere softens into a luminous amber glow. Long, indigo shadows stretch gracefully across the hillside, painting the undulating terrain in dramatic strokes of gold and shadow. The yearling pauses its steady grazing, lifting its head in a slow, fluid motion to survey the vast, quiet valley below, filtered through the thinning canopy of the trembling aspens. The slanting light catches the edges of the young equid's newly thickening coat, turning the fawn-colored fur into a shimmering tapestry of copper and bronze. A gentle breath of wind drifts down from the summit, carrying the crisp, clean scent of pine resin and the first distant promise of evening frost. The atmosphere holds a profound, restful stillness. In this quiet interlude between day and night, the world slows its pace. Ears swivel gently, catching the faint, settling sounds of the surrounding herd as they too pause to rest in the fading warmth. There is no urgency here, only a deep, instinctive contentment rooted in the rhythms of the earth. The yearling lowers its muzzle once more, but only for a lingering moment, preferring instead to stand quietly on the hillside and absorb the peaceful ambience. The golden light softens further, deepening into rich shades of ochre and burnt sienna against the white bark trunks. Breathing deeply of the cool mountain air, the young animal feels the steady, reassuring pulse of the changing season, resting peacefully as the day gently fades into dusk. As the sun dips further behind the towering granite ridges, the amber warmth of the afternoon dissolves into the cool, indigo embrace of twilight. The temperature drops noticeably with each passing minute, a natural thermal shift that prompts the herd to begin their slow, deliberate movement toward a sheltered hollow nestled deep within the mature aspen grove, protected from the drafts of the open alpine slopes. The ground here is carpeted with a thick, insulating layer of dry, fallen leaves that whisper softly beneath heavy, cautious hooves. The yearling walks quietly beside the older matriarch, its newly developed winter coat providing an effective barrier against the evening chill. This physiological adaptation, triggered weeks prior by the shortening photo period and diminishing daylight hours, now works seamlessly to trap a vital layer of insulating air close to the skin. Every step is unhurried, reflecting a profound state of biological conservation as metabolism gently shifts into a restorative nocturnal rhythm. Reaching the secluded clearing, the family group begins to settle. The yearling circles twice before lowering its frame to the earth, folding its slender legs gracefully beneath its body in the deepening shadows. A soft, contented equine snort escapes its muzzle, dissolving into the still, fragrant air. All around, the other herd members drop into similar resting postures, resting their heavy heads or closing heavy eyelids against the approaching night. Safe within the quiet sanctuary of the mountain forest, surrounded by the crisp scent of frost and pine, the young mule breathes deeply, surrendering entirely to the profound, restorative peace of the autumn night. High above the twisting floor of the deep sandstone canyons, the last brilliant amber light of the autumn sun clings only to the highest rims. A gentle wind sweeps across the exposed rock, whispering through dry, rustling leaves and carrying the crisp, sudden chill of evening. As the daylight retreats upward, long violet shadows stretch and pool in the gorge below, marking the serene transition from the warmth of the afternoon to the stillness of twilight. In this shadowed sanctuary, the atmosphere changes breath by breath. The ambient temperature drops rapidly, prompting physiological adjustments across the ecosystem as animals prepare for the desert night. For a young yearling mule standing quietly near a towering rock overhang, this cooling air triggers innate seasonal adaptations. Its dense autumn coat, a thick layer of hollow guard hairs trapping insulating air against the skin, fluffs slightly to conserve precious metabolic warmth. Farther down the canyon, the faint, musical sound of a sluggish stream echoes softly against the stone walls, blending with the dwindling notes of distant birdsong. Every sense is heightened in the gathering dusk. The yearling's large, mobile ears swivel effortlessly, catching the subtle scraping of hooves on shale and the steady, rhythmic breathing of the resting herd nearby. The harsh glare of day dissolves into a palette of muted blues and grays, wrapping the labyrinth of stone in a profound, velvety quiet. The gorge breathes out its final warmth of the day, settling peacefully into the restful embrace of the autumn night. Stepping down toward the canyon floor, the yearling displays a masterclass in biomechanical efficiency, a living bridge between two distinct evolutionary paths. Unlike the sprawling, impulsive stride of a full horse, the young mule moves with a measured, deliberate grace inherited directly from its donkey ancestors. Every placement of the foot is a silent calculation, born of compact skeletal proportions and a narrower chest that keeps the center of gravity impeccably centered over the limbs. Watch the hoof meet the fractured sandstone. Where a horse might slip on loose shale, the mule possesses unusually upright, deeply cupped hoof walls. These vertical hoof angles, paired with dense, highly elastic frogs, act as natural shock absorbers and grappling hooks combined. The hoof capsule is rounder and more upright, designed to bear weight squarely over the heels rather than stretching the tendons forward. As the yearling descends a steep limestone rib, notice how the hind legs track precisely inside the footprints of the front legs. This economical alignment prevents missteps on narrow ledges. The joints, from the sloping pasterns to the strong hocks, bend with a fluid, piston-like precision that minimizes wasted energy and dampens the impact against the unyielding stone. There is no rushing here, no panicked scramble. Instead, there is an innate, calm geometry at work. Each leg pauses for a fraction of a second longer, testing the integrity of the earth beneath before committing full weight. It is a slow, thoughtful choreography of bone and sinew, perfectly calibrated for the vertical world of the ancient gorge. The trail narrows now, turning into a steep staircase of loose shale and sun-baked earth. The yearling pauses at the threshold of the descent, lowering its velvet muzzle to brush the jagged stones. This is no mere hesitation. It is a vital sensory inquiry. Specialized mechanoreceptors clustered deep within the sensitive frog of the hoof read the microscopic vibrations of the shifting ground, transmitting immediate tactile data up the dense bone columns. With every tentative step down the slope, the young mule relies on this exquisite feedback loop. It places a single lead hoof against a treacherous slide of broken rock, testing the friction. Only when the rigid horn wall and the pliable sole confirm a secure purchase does it shift its weight forward. There is a quiet, deliberate caution in the movement, a stark contrast to the impulsive rushes of other grazing mammals. The shoulder muscles flex smoothly beneath a coat thick with the first rich underpinnings of autumn. As the foreleg bears the brunt of the downward grade, the deep digital flexor tendon engages like a well-oiled winch, locking the joints into a stable pillar. A soft, muffled crunch echoes off the sandstone walls, the sound of shale settling harmlessly under a hoof that refuses to slide. The yearling does not look down. Its panoramic vision, granted by horizontally elongated pupils, sweeps the deepening shadows below while the lower extremities do their silent, analytical work. Step by measured step, the descent unfolds in a soothing rhythm, a masterclass in balance and self-preservation amidst the gathering dusk of the quiet canyon. At the base of the winding descent, the canyon floor widens into a peaceful wash where a sluggish stream cuts through the ancient stone. The sound of flowing water drifts softly on the evening air, a gentle gurgle of clear liquid brushing against smooth, rounded river stones. Drawn by this melodic murmur, the small herd moves forward in a quiet, unhurried single file. The yearling steps out from the rocky incline and onto the damp, packed earth of the bank, lowering its soft muzzle toward the surface. In arid canyon ecosystems, water is a precious commodity, and the physiology of the equid is exquisitely adapted to capitalize on it. The young mule submerges its lips just beneath the surface, drawing the cool liquid inward in a continuous, rhythmic drafting motion. Unlike other mammals that lift their heads frequently to breathe, equids possess a specialized nasal anatomy and soft palate structure that allows them to drink in long, uninterrupted drafts. Each swallow creates a faint, soothing ripple across the glassy water, reflecting the amber hues of the fading sky above. Water absorbed through the digestive tract rapidly replenishes blood plasma volume, cooling the body from within as the day's residual warmth surrenders to the deepening chill. Beside the yearling, an older mare exhales a long, warm breath that stirs the dry reeds at the water's edge. The gentle splashing subsides into a profound, liquid quietude. Satisfied and refreshed, the animals lift their heads, water droplets glistening on their whiskers, and stand shoulder to shoulder in the deepening twilight, leaving the stream behind. The small herd turns toward the eastern canyon wall, guided by instinct toward a deep, wind-sculpted alcove. As autumn's chill deepens with the fading light, the geology of the gorge offers a vital thermal advantage. Throughout the long day, the towering sandstone walls absorb the fierce desert heat, acting as massive thermal batteries. Now, as the ambient temperature drops, this ancient stone slowly radiates its stored warmth outward, creating a microclimate of gentle, protective shelter against the cooling night air. The yearling steps beneath the sweeping stone overhang, its hooves pressing softly into the bed of dry, rustling leaves that carpet the alcove floor. The acoustics of the recess soften the ambient sounds of the canyon, turning the gentle whisper of the wind into a low, distant hum. Here, protected from the drafting breezes of the gorge, the air feels still and cozy. One by one, the animals settle into the sandy earth. The yearling lowers its frame, folding its long legs beneath its body with slow, deliberate grace until it rests comfortably against the sheltering stone. The radiation of heat from the rock face warms the dense autumn coat, encouraging the microscopic erector pili muscles in the skin to relax, allowing the hairs to lie flat and trap a final layer of insulating air. Beside the young mule, the older mare rests her head, her breathing falling into a deep, steady rhythm that matches the quiet pulse of the canyon. Outside the alcove, the last amber light fades from the upper rims, leaving the deep gorge bathed in soft indigo shadows. The rustling brush outside grows still, and a profound, comforting peace settles over the resting herd. Within the sheltering curve of the alcove, the frantic energy of the sunlit day dissolves entirely. The cooling autumn air outside holds no threat now, neutralized by the steady thermal release of the sandstone and the gathered warmth of the herd. In this quiet sanctuary, a physiological synchronization begins to take hold among the resting animals. Their respiratory rates slow in unison, shifting from the rapid pant of exertion to a deep, measured cadence. Each inhalation draws in the dry, leaf-scented air, and each long exhalation settles a tiny puff of dust into the fine earth beneath their hooves. This synchronized breathing creates a subtle, resonant vibration in the quiet recess, a soothing, metronomic hum that lulls the senses. The yearling listens to the steady rise and fall of the mare's flank beside it, its own nervous system mirroring that profound stillness. As the autonomic nervous system shifts dominance toward rest and digestion, the heart rates of the equids drop into a relaxed, restorative rhythm. The digestive tract, uniquely adapted to fermenting coarse autumn browse, continues its quiet, internal alchemy, producing a gentle warmth that radiates from within. Hooves shift just once or twice in the dry dust, finding the most comfortable contour of sand before becoming completely motionless. The last hints of daylight slip away from the canyon rims, leaving the gorge bathed in a velvety indigo darkness. The rustling brush at the canyon entrance hushes under a blanket of dew, and the distant murmur of the stream fades into a soft, murmuring background hum. Wrapped in the embrace of the warm stone and the collective calm of the herd, the yearling lets its heavy eyelids drift closed, surrendering completely to the deep, restorative peace of the canyon night. High above the ancient timberline, the last bruised traces of amber twilight dissolve into the deep, velvety navy of the autumn sky. As the earth tilts away from the fading warmth of the sun, the mountain air surrenders to a crisp, steady chill, releasing the damp, earthy fragrance of decaying timber and curing grasses. Through the thinning canopy of golden brown oak and towering pine, the autumn moon ascends, a luminous orb of pale silver, casting long, dramatic shadows across the uneven terrain of the forest floor. This profound transition from day to night triggers a rapid physiological shift in the nocturnal landscape. As ambient temperatures drop, the moisture in the cooling air condenses, forming a delicate, shimmering glaze upon the uppermost layer of fallen leaves. The forest quiets, its daytime inhabitants retreating to hollows and dens, leaving the woodland wrapped in a stillness so absolute that the settling of a single pine needle resonates like a falling pebble. Beneath this silver canopy, the world becomes a study in stark monochrome. For a young yearling mule, an animal endowed with specialized retinal adaptations, this shifting spectrum is easily navigated. A high concentration of light-sensitive rod cells packed into the retina allows the hybrid to gather every available photon of moonlight, transforming absolute darkness into a world of soft, luminous gray tones and high-contrast silhouettes. The shadows beneath the boughs are deep, but they are no longer empty. They are alive with the subtle, slow motion of a cooling world. The wind dies down to an imperceptible breath, leaving only the sound of frost beginning to form on the edges of the dry foliage. The stage is set for the long, quiet vigil of the night. Through this blanket of cured foliage, the yearling steps forward with deliberate grace. Every movement is a study in calculated balance, born of the hybrid's unique equine asinine heritage. The ground here is treacherous with layers of brittle oak and maple leaves, stacked inches deep over hidden roots and mossy stones. Yet, the young mule's limbs possess a remarkable sure-footedness. As a hoof lifts, the pastern joint flexes with fluid elasticity, lowering the hoof back down with a precision that minimizes unnecessary disturbance. Still, the sheer volume of autumn debris makes complete silence nearly impossible. Each placement of the hoof produces a dry, papery whisper, a gentle rustling sound that rolls outward through the quiet timber like a slow sigh. The crisp outer edges of the leaves, stiffened by the evening's gathering chill, crackle softly beneath the weight, sending tiny vibrations through the substrate. This acoustic feedback is monitored constantly by the young animal. The mechanical friction of leaf against hoof serves as tactile and auditory confirmation of the terrain's density. By reading the pitch of the rustle, the yearling instantly gauges whether the footing is solid bedrock, soft loam, or loose shale hidden beneath the leaf litter. The pace remains unhurried, measured, and deeply rhythmic, harmonizing with the subtle cadence of the cooling forest. Beyond the tactile feedback of the ground, the yearling relies upon an even more sophisticated sensory apparatus, a pair of remarkably elongated ears. Inherited from the donkey ancestry, these sensory sails dominate the young mule's silhouette, measuring nearly a third longer than those of a standard horse. They are marvels of biological engineering, laced with an intricate network of blood vessels and powered by over a dozen specialized auricular muscles. As the gentle night wind whispers through the canopy, carrying the distant, hooting inquiry of a barred owl, both ears spring into action. They do not merely twitch, they rotate independently, sweeping through a vast 360-degree arc like twin satellite dishes. The left ear swivels backward to catch the faint, settling creak of an oak branch high above, while the right swivels forward and down, locking onto the soft, rhythmic breathing of herd mates resting deeper in the timber. This independent mobility allows the hybrid to map its acoustic environment with astonishing precision. Sound waves are funneled efficiently down the wide pinnae, amplifying low-frequency vibrations that might otherwise be lost in the vastness of the autumn forest. The yearling can pinpoint the exact distance and direction of a beetle tunneling beneath a loose piece of bark, or the whisper of a mouse darting through the brittle undergrowth yards away. In the absolute darkness of the midnight woods, where vision alone is insufficient, this auditory radar provides total situational awareness. The young mule stands perfectly still for a long, tranquil moment, absorbing the symphony of the night. With every subtle rotation of those long, velvety ears, the surrounding forest is translated into a detailed, living map of sound, ensuring complete peace of mind beneath the autumn moon. Deep within a protected grove of ancient maples, the herd finally comes to a restful halt, enveloped in the silvery glow of the autumn moon. For a growing yearling, the physiological need for sleep is constant, yet the instincts of a prey animal demand unyielding vigilance. To reconcile these opposing pressures, the young mule engages a remarkable evolutionary adaptation, the equine stay apparatus. Rather than lying fully exposed upon the cold, leaf-strewn earth, the hybrid prepares to rest on its feet. With a deliberate shift in weight, the yearling locks the intricate network of tendons, ligaments, and specialized joints in its hind limbs. This natural locking mechanism suspends the skeletal structure effortlessly, neutralizing gravity and allowing heavy muscles to relax completely without the risk of a sudden collapse. In this secure, suspended stance, the young mule's head lowers slightly, and heavy eyelids begin to droop. Yet, true slumber remains held at bay. Equine sleep is modular and fleeting, broken into microcycles where deep physical restoration occurs even while standing. A soft, rhythmic exhalation escapes through flared nostrils, joining the collective, tranquil breathing of the surrounding herd. Even as the brain drifts toward the restorative shores of light REM sleep, the body remains primed for action. The long, velvety ears continue their quiet, independent surveillance of the moonlit woods, pivoting backward to monitor the safety of the rear flank, Should a fallen branch snap or a nocturnal predator stir in the brush, the locking mechanism can be disengaged in a fraction of a second, springing the yearling instantly into motion. For now, however, the forest remains profoundly still, cradling the resting mule in a deep, peaceful quiet. All around the suspended yearling, the autumn forest composes a gentle, nocturnal symphony. High above, a soft night wind slips through the thinning canopy of bare maple branches, coaxing them into a slow, rhythmic creak that echoes like a lullaby through the cool air. Every passing gust stirs the dry leaves caught high in the understory, creating a dry, rustling whisper that cascades downward to carpet the shadowy earth. Farther off, across a silvery meadow, the resonant, territorial hoot of a great horned owl drifts through the stillness. Its deep, measured calls punctuate the night at unhurried intervals, grounding the vastness of the wilderness in a comforting, predictable cadence. The young mule's ears twitch just a fraction toward the sound, processing the distant vocalization before swiveling smoothly back to the gentle rustle of the immediate surroundings. Weaving through these grander acoustics are the tiny, hidden movements of the ecosystem. A field mouse skitters hastily over a fallen log, its miniature footsteps rustling the leaves like falling raindrops. Nearby, a nocturnal beetle navigates the labyrinth of decaying bark, adding micro sounds to the rich acoustic tapestry of the woodland floor. Beneath it all lies the most anchoring rhythm of the night, the slow, steady breathing of the resting herd, inhaling the crisp scent of damp earth and frost-touched foliage. The yearling matches its respiration to the collective pulse of its companions. Each long, quiet exhalation warms the chilly autumn air in soft, hazy plumes, blending seamlessly with the ambient hum of the living woods. Cradled within this cocoon of natural sound, the tension of the day melts away, leaving only the slow passage of time beneath the quiet, watching moon. As the moon completes its slow arc across the autumn sky, the temperature steadily dips past the dew point. The still, cold air begins to work a quiet transformation upon the forest floor. Moisture trapped within the fibers of the dry fallen leaves and deep within the porous soil surrenders its warmth to the atmosphere, crystallizing into a fine, glittering layer of pre-dawn frost. This subtle shift in humidity alters the acoustic properties of the woodland. The familiar, papery rustle of crisp autumn foliage grows slightly muted, softened by the delicate layer of ice feathers forming across every surface. The yearling mule stirs ever so slightly in its resting place, sensing the drop in temperature through specialized thermoreceptors in its skin. Without fully waking, the young hybrid adjusts its limbs to conserve core body heat, tucking its nose closer to its chest as the frost claims the edges of the clearing. In these quiet, endless hours before the dawn, the biological machinery of the ecosystem slows to its most profound rest. The great horned owl falls silent, and even the micro-movements of the forest floor cease under the tightening grip of the cold. Only the rhythmic, measured breathing of the resting herd remains, rising in soft plumes that vanish into the silvery moonlight. The night holds its breath, waiting for the first pale hint of morning to release the frozen woods from their slumber. The high mountain basin sleeps beneath a vast expanse of dark, star-dusted sky, holding its breath in the quiet hours before dawn. A heavy, crystalline blanket of autumn frost has settled over the landscape, turning every blade of bunch grass and weathered stone into a sculpture of glittering ice. The air is still, carrying the sharp, clean scent of damp earth and frost-laden pine needles from the timberline above. In the center of this frozen amphitheater, a young yearling mule stands motionless. The sudden drop in temperature triggers a marvel of natural engineering within the animal's body. Beneath its skin, blood vessels gently constrict, a process called vasoconstriction, diverting warm blood away from the surface and deep toward vital organs to preserve core temperature. Slowly, the yearling shifts its weight, its compact frame bearing the resilient traits of both horse and donkey. Its dense, growing winter coat, a thick underfur topped with coarser guard hairs, puffs slightly outward. This piloerection traps a microscopic layer of air against the skin, creating a natural insulating barrier that seals the body's warmth against the crisp mountain wind. A soft, rhythmic snort breaks the stillness, sending a plume of warm mist curling into the freezing air. The yearling lowers its head, testing the chilled breeze with wide, velvety nostrils to read the microclimate of the meadow. Around it, the dormant brush rusts ever so slightly as nearby herd members stir in their resting places, their huddled forms sharing residual body heat in the biting chill. The world holds its quiet, suspended breath, resting gently under the silver touch of late autumn's first true frost. Those long, expressive ears swivel with deliberate precision, catching the faint, whispering sigh of distant pine branches swaying far up the slope. Each movement of the velvety pinnae acts as an acoustic radar, tuning into the subtle crackle of frost settling deeper onto the ground. This remarkable sensory architecture, inherited from its donkey ancestry, grants the yearling an acute perception of its alpine environment, registering frequencies of sound that larger, rounder ears might miss entirely. Turning slightly into the crisp wind, the young mule lifts its muzzle. Its moist, sensitive nostrils flare, instantly parsing the complex chemical tapestry of the pre-dawn air. The olfactory epithelium within the nasal cavity detects the sharp, ozone-tinged mineral scent of frozen moisture, alongside the rich, underlying sweetness of dormant vegetation buried beneath the white crust. This sophisticated thermal and chemical analysis informs the nervous system of the exact degree of the temperature shift, prompting internal metabolic adjustments without a single trace of panic. True to its steady lineage, the yearling remains entirely calm. There is no nervous tossing of the head or frantic pacing. Instead, a tranquil stillness pervades its posture. The slow, rhythmic beating of its heart maintains a dependable cadence, pumping warmed blood through its sturdy frame while energy is efficiently funneled toward internal heat production. As the quiet hours stretch onward under the fading stars, the young hybrid simply absorbs the information carried on the breeze, resting peacefully within the cold embrace of the mountain morning. With a gentle shift in weight, the yearling prepares to cross the brittle meadow. Every step is executed with slow, deliberate precision. The ground beneath has transformed overnight, locked beneath a glassy veneer of rime ice that coats the uneven soil and rounded alpine stones. Yet, the young mule navigates this treacherous mosaic of frozen earth with quiet confidence, its locomotion governed by the remarkable biomechanics of its resilient limbs. Unlike the more splayed, shallow hooves of its maternal horse lineage, the yearling stands upon feet inherited from its donkey forebears, narrower, deeper, and remarkably upright. The wall of each dark, dense hoof is composed of exceptionally tough horn, a fibrous keratin structure containing moisture levels low enough to prevent freezing and cracking in sub-zero temperatures. This dense morphological design provides a smaller surface area, allowing the hoof to pierce thin crusts and find direct purchase on the firmer substrate below. As the yearling places a forefoot down, the frog, the resilient triangular pad on the underside of the hoof, makes firm contact with the frozen ground. Instead of slipping, the elastic tissue compresses to absorb the shock, conforming precisely to the jagged contours of frost-sheathed stone. This natural shock absorption not only protects the delicate internal joints and navicular bones from concussive stress, but it also maximizes traction across slick surfaces. The upright angle of the pasterns works in harmony with this dense horn, transferring body weight straight down through the center of the foot. With each measured stride, the yearling leaves behind only small, crisp fractures in the surface ice, moving steadily forward without a single falter upon the hardening earth. reaching a slightly sheltered depression where tall bunch grasses lie flattened and encased in glittering rime. The yearling pauses. The scent of sweet, cured hay rises faintly through the crisp air, signaling nourishment locked just beneath the surface glaze. Drawing upon a dual heritage of resourceful survival, the young hybrid employs a clever combination of tactile sensitivity and mechanical leverage to access the meal. First, the yearling lowers its velvety muzzle close to the crust, utilizing highly sensitive tactile hairs that map the contours of the ice and detect the richest concentrations of dormant vegetation below. Then, shifting its weight back, it lifts a sturdy forefoot. With measured, deliberate control, the animal uses the hard edge of its hoof to score the brittle surface, gently fracturing the frozen veneer without wasting valuable energy. Beneath the ice, the grasses remain surprisingly well preserved, retaining the vital carbohydrates and nutrients accumulated during the late summer months. To clear the remaining shards, the yearling sweeps its upper lip aside. Unlike grazing animals with less flexible mouths, its prehensile lips possess remarkable dexterity, sorting away sharp ice fragments while gathering the sweet, bleached blades of fescue and wheatgrass. Each bite is chewed slowly, generating internal metabolic warmth as digestion begins to process the fibrous forage. The rhythmic sound of the yearling working through the frozen patch blends softly with the gentle rustling of dormant brush nearby, a quiet testament to the enduring resilience carried within its hardy frame. A few paces away, the other members of the small family group remain close, their dark silhouettes merging softly into the dim, pre-dawn gloom. This deliberate proximity is a vital thermoregulatory strategy. By standing shoulder to shoulder, the animals minimize their individual surface area exposed to the crisp wind and passively share ambient body heat. Through a process of huddling and gentle contact, they create a microclimate of shared warmth that reduces the metabolic energy required to maintain their core body temperatures through the freezing hours. The atmosphere is filled with a deep, settling serenity. A steady, rhythmic sound rises from the group, the deep, resonant inhalation and soft, warm exhalation of resting lungs, pluming faintly in the chilled air. Every breath is a quiet reminder of their sturdy biology, perfectly tuned to withstand the mountain's harshest shifts. Soft shuffling hooves periodically break the surface frost, a gentle, grounding percussion that underscores the peaceful security of the herd. The yearling pauses its foraging for a brief moment, lifting its head to absorb the reassuring presence of the older animals flanking it on either side. A soft, low snort ripples through its velvety nostrils, carrying the warm, familiar scent of kin and damp earth. In this quiet solidarity, the chill of the high-elevation meadow loses its edge, replaced by the enduring comfort of shared survival as the silent valley waits for the dawn. Far across the eastern ridge, the deep indigo of the night begins to soften, yielding gracefully to a pale, translucent amber. This first delicate hint of morning light spills slowly down the mountain slopes, painting long, indigo shadows across the glittering expanse of the frost-covered meadow. Every blade of grass and crystal of surface ice catches the nascent glow, shimmering briefly like scattered diamonds before the creeping warmth begins its subtle alchemy. The yearling lifts its head, its long ears rotating forward to capture the morning sounds of the awakening forest. A gentle breeze stirs the distant pine branches swaying softly along the tree line, carrying the crisp, clean scent of awakening earth. With the arrival of daylight, the ambient temperature initiates a gradual metabolic transition within the young hybrid. The physiological surge required to generate nocturnal heat begins to level, allowing the animal's resilient body to settle into a steady, daytime rhythm. Feeling the faint promise of the sun's rays, the yearling stretches its neck forward, lengthening its spine in a long, satisfying motion. The dense guard hairs of its growing winter coat lie flat in the gentle light, maximizing their insulative capacity as the frost slowly surrenders to the air. Beside it, The other family members stir in quiet unison, shaking the remaining ice crystals from their coats with a subtle rustling of dormant brush. Together, they turn their faces toward the unfolding day, preparing to step forward along the descending trails toward the sheltered valleys below. High upon the mountain pass, a quiet hush blankets the rugged terrain. As the first pale amber fingers of dawn stretch across the peaks, they pierce the lingering layers of heavy morning mist. This cool, moisture-laden air clings gently to the turning forest canopy below, where stands of quaking aspen glow in brilliant shades of gold and bronze. Every leaf is outlined in a delicate, sparkling filigree of white hoarfrost. Beneath the canopy, the ground is completely still, punctuated only by the subtle, crisp sound of frozen blades of grass snapping under the weight of settling stillness. A gentle mountain wind whispers through the pine boughs overhead, carrying the faint, soothing murmur of a distant stream winding its way through the valley stones below. High in the branches, a solitary jay stirs, its soft morning call drifting away into the vast, open sky. In this serene, high-altitude sanctuary, the landscape is locked in a seasonal transition. The crisp, invigorating air carries the unmistakable chill of approaching winter, a vital environmental cue that triggers profound physiological adjustments throughout the ecosystem. For the resident wildlife, this golden hour of dawn marks the beginning of another rhythmic day of survival and preparation. The ambient temperature hovers just below freezing, encouraging every creature to seek out the warmth of the emerging sunlight as it slowly paints the frost-covered earth in hues of amber and rose. Standing quietly in the amber light, the young mule deer offers a striking portrait of seasonal adaptation. His appearance is changing week by week, marked most visibly by the transformation of his coat. The sleek, reddish-brown summer fur has given way to a much thicker, denser winter pelt, a masterpiece of natural engineering designed to withstand the biting mountain cold. As the shortening autumn daylight signals the pituitary gland to alter hormone production, the yearling's follicles respond. Beneath the surface, a dense, crimped layer of underfur is growing in thick and full. This soft, woolly underlayer traps microscopic pockets of insulating air against his skin, creating a highly efficient thermal barrier. Interspersed above this warming blanket are coarser, longer guard hairs. Each individual guard hair is actually hollow inside, functioning much like a tiny fiber optic tube that captures solar radiation while trapping body heat within its core. When the gentle wind rustles the frosted pine boughs above, the yearling does not shiver. His new coat acts as waterproof armor against both wind and dampness, sealing his core temperature safely inside. The individual hairs lift slightly to trap maximum warmth in the crisp morning air, creating a soft, plush silhouette against the golden backdrop of the aspen trees. This gradual thickening of fur represents a vital metabolic investment, requiring immense nutritional energy that the young deer has spent all summer gathering. Now, as the frost cracks faintly beneath his resting hooves, this remarkable biological shield stands ready to protect him through the long, freezing months ahead, wrapping him in warmth as the peaceful dawn deepens. Beneath that newly formed coat of hollow guard hairs and insulating underfur, an equally profound transformation is unfolding within the yearling's internal landscape. Autumn's bounty across the mountain pass demands more than just a thicker jacket. It requires deep physiological preparation. As the grasses and woody browse begin to lose their summer succulence, the young mule's digestive system undergoes subtle, efficient shifts to extract every possible calorie from the hardening vegetation. His metabolic rate begins its slow, seasonal descent, a clever evolutionary strategy that conserves precious energy rather than burning it away in restless motion. Instead of idling his vitality, his body focuses inward on building a robust layer of subcutaneous fat. Every mouthful of nutrient-rich huckleberry twigs and cured bunchgrass is processed through a specialized, multi-chambered stomach, Microscopic gut microbes ferment the coarse plant fibers with remarkable efficiency, transforming tough cellulose into rich, volatile fatty acids that enter his bloodstream. These circulating nutrients are steadily converted into dense white adipose tissue, creating a smooth, insulating girdle beneath his skin and around vital organs. This growing energy reserve serves as both a thermal blanket and a biological pantry. Unlike the fleeting fuel of summer, this deep fat deposition acts as an internal battery, designed to sustain him through heavy snows when foraging becomes arduous and scarce. The yearling's physiology reads the shortening days with ancient precision, quietly storing the golden essence of autumn into resilient biological reserves. As he continues his slow, rhythmic browsing among the frosted boulders, his body works in silent harmony with the turning earth, anchoring him safely against the approaching winter. A delicate skin of ice coats the tips of the remaining alpine bunchgrass, glistening like fine diamonds in the slanted morning rays. Moving with deliberate, economical grace, the yearling approaches a sun-kissed patch of mountain mahogany. His sensitive muzzle tests the frost-crisped stems, delicately selecting the most nutrient-rich terminal buds where the plant has concentrated its late-season sugars. This selective feeding behavior is a masterclass in energy efficiency. Rather than expending precious calories on fibrous, low-value stalks, his prehensile lips pluck only the high-yield morsels. Each bite requires careful processing. His powerful jaw grinds in a steady, rhythmic circle, wearing down tough plant cell walls with the specialized enamel ridges of his molars. This mechanical breakdown is paired with an instinctive foraging strategy that minimizes needless wandering, allowing him to accumulate vital mass without depleting his internal reserves. As he pauses to test the morning air, a wisp of vapor curls softly from his nostrils, dissolving into the cool, quiet mountain breeze. Around him, the rest of the herd shares in this peaceful autumn ritual, their occasional, low communications blending with the distant murmur of the stream. There is no frantic rush in their movements now, only a serene and steady focus on the ground beneath their hooves. The yearling lowers his head once more, his cautious movements perfectly attuned to the slowing pulse of the alpine ecosystem. Here, amidst the turning leaves and the whispering wind, every mouthful of frosted forage becomes a quiet investment in the months ahead, sealing the yearling's bond with the rhythm of the changing seasons. A soft huff of breath from the matriarch drifts across the clearing, a familiar anchor in the cooling air. The yearling lifts his head, his large, velvety ears swiveling independently to catch the gentle, directional cues of his kin. Without a sound, subtle shifts in posture communicate reassurance throughout the family group. A mare a few paces away dips her head in a slow, calming nod, her own thick autumn coat rippling softly as she adjusts her footing on the leaf-strewn slope. This silent, tactile communication relies on profound social bonds forged over months of shared travel and resting. By maintaining close spatial proximity, the herd members maximize their collective vigilance while conserving precious metabolic energy, sharing the quiet burden of watchfulness against the encroaching chill of winter. The young mule turns slightly, pausing his steady intake of mountain mahogany to survey the vast, mist-draped valley below. The golden canopy of aspen trees shivers under a sudden, whisper-light breath of wind, sending a golden cascade of frosted leaves spiraling down to the damp earth. A yearling's developing nervous system processes these sensory inputs with a calm, measured curiosity, his dark eyes reflecting the serene expanse of the changing mountain pass. He breathes in deeply, his lungs expanding with the crisp, clean scent of damp pine needles and earth. In this tranquil sanctuary of stone and mist, surrounded by the comforting, rhythmic presence of his herd, the wild pulse of the high country beats with a steady, reassuring grace, lulling the landscape into a deep, anticipatory peace. Higher now, the golden light of the early sun crests the jagged ridge, spilling a wash of amber warmth across the frosty slope. The mist that clung so heavily to the fir trees begins to lift in slow, curling ribbons, dissolving into the vast blue expanse of the morning sky. In this gentle transition from shadow to warmth, the yearling mule deer lowers his head once more, returning to the steady, grounding rhythm of the harvest. Every deliberate bite of calorie-rich forage feeds directly into the deepening layers of subcutaneous fat, quietly insulating his growing frame against the coming snows. His physiology, finely tuned by millennia of evolutionary wisdom, orchestrates these metabolic shifts with effortless grace, converting the rich bounty of autumn into the vital reserves required for the long winter slumber ahead. Around him, the rest of the family group drifts in a loose, harmonious formation, their movements unhurried and deeply synchronized. A soft crunch of frost-crisped grass beneath a hoof punctuates the quiet morning air, blending with the distant, murmuring rush of the mountain stream far below. There is no urgency in their pace, only the patient, instinctual wisdom of creatures who understand the turning of the earth. The yearling pauses, letting his eyelids droop slightly against the strengthening warmth of the sun. He feels the reassuring press of a doe's flank nearby, anchoring him in a deep, communal stillness. As the mountain pass settles fully into the bright, quiet hours of the day, a profound sense of peace settles over the landscape, wrapping the young deer in a warm, steady cradle of nature's patient design. The high mountain valley rests beneath a heavy, undisturbed hush as winter claims the wilderness. Flake by gentle flake, the snow settles deeply across the terrain, transforming the jagged rocks and rugged meadows into a monochromatic sanctuary of pristine white. All around, the air holds a profound, resonant stillness, broken only by the whisper of soft snowfall drifting down through the boughs of ancient evergreens. Amidst this frozen expanse stands an adult mule, a solitary figure of quiet resilience. The animal remains nearly motionless, its large, expressive ears occasionally pivoting to catch the muffled sounds of the forest, the distant, settling crack of a heavy pine bough bending beneath its frozen burden, and the low sigh of a gentle winter wind threading through the canopy. There is no rush in the mule's posture, no wasted movement against the sudden, sharp drop in temperature. Nature has carefully equipped this survivor for the harshest of months. The mule's physiology is a masterclass in seasonal adaptation, finely tuned to endure the sub-zero chill without distress. Standing knee-deep in the accumulating drifts, the animal absorbs the biting cold with absolute calm. Every breath rises in a soft, steady plume of vapor, dissolving slowly into the freezing air as the late afternoon sun casts long, indigo shadows across the untouched snowdrifts, wrapping the serene valley in a deep, enduring peace. The secret to this quiet endurance lies just beneath the surface, in the remarkable architecture of the mule's winter coat. Unlike the sleek, sun-bleached hair of summer, this cold-weather armor is a dense, dual-layered system designed for peak thermodynamic efficiency. Long, coarse guard hairs form the first line of defense. These hollow fibers act as a thatched roof, catching falling snowflakes and repelling moisture before it can ever reach the skin. Because these outer hairs are water repellent, the accumulating snow simply rests on the tips, melting not a single fraction of an inch from body heat. Beneath this stiff outer canopy lies a thick, plush underfur, a microscopic maze of fine woolly fibers that traps a dense layer of still air directly against the mule's skin. Air is a poor conductor of heat, and by holding this warm pocket close to the body, the coat creates an impenetrable thermal barrier. The mule's skin temperature can hover near freezing on the exterior of the fur, while its core remains safely regulated at a warm, steady baseline. This sophisticated biological insulation operates entirely without conscious effort. As the late afternoon temperatures plunge further into the sub-zero range, The tiny arrestor muscles at the base of each hair follicle contract slightly, lifting the coat just a fraction. This piloerection thickens the trapped air pocket, maximizing the insulating loft. Standing completely still, the mule is cocooned in its own warmth, utilizing physics to conquer the winter chill while conserving every precious calorie within. When the quiet necessity of movement finally calls, there is no wasted energy, no frantic rushing against the cold. The adult mule steps forward with measured, deliberate grace, demonstrating a masterclass in biomechanical efficiency. Navigating deep powder requires a profound understanding of physics, and the mule approaches the drifts not with struggle, but with calm calculation. Each stride begins with a clean, high lift of the leg. The dark, hard edges of the hooves swing upward, drawing clear of the clinging drifts before descending with calculated precision. Rather than dragging its limbs through the heavy, interlocking crystals of the snowpack, which would burn precious calories and quicken the breath, the mule punches downward vertically, compacting the snow beneath its weight to create a firm, temporary foundation. This rhythmic, purposeful gait minimizes friction and muscular strain. The joints flex smoothly, absorbing the uneven terrain without jarring the spine or disrupting the warm microclimate trapped beneath the double coat. Every movement is deliberate, slow, and unhurried, designed to accomplish travel without elevating the heart rate or triggering unnecessary metabolic expenditure. In the high country winter, stillness is virtue, but motion is an art. As the mule paces quietly through the crystalline expanse, the gentle shifting of hooves on packed snow creates a soft, muffled crunch that dissolves almost instantly into the surrounding stillness. The animal moves like a steady shadow across the pristine white valley, every step a quiet negotiation with the elements, perfectly balanced between forward progress and the absolute preservation of warmth. Resting at the edge of a sheltered snowdrift, the adult mule pauses its journey, turning its attention to the silent, white-covered earth below. Beneath the frozen crust lies the primary challenge of the high country winter, finding nourishment when the landscape is buried in white. Without the luxury of green summer pastures, the animal relies on a sophisticated combination of sensory perception and physical strength to sustain its core temperature. The mule lowers its velvety muzzle toward the surface. Thick, tactile whiskers and a highly sensitive upper lip sweep across the snow, detecting the subtle chemical signatures of dormant grasses and hardy sagebrush resting dormant beneath the ice. Once a promising patch is located, the animal goes to work. With a measured cadence, it begins to paw at the frozen crust using the hard, sharp edges of its forehooves. This rhythmic scraping is not born of panic, but of steady, practiced efficiency. The hooves break through the brittle top layer of crust and brush away the lighter powder below, exposing pale, frost-cured stems and subterranean roots. Each deliberate sweep of the leg uncovers a vital caloric prize. The mule selects these fibrous morsels carefully, maximizing nutrient intake while minimizing the energy expended during digestion. As it chews slowly, the gentle shifting of hooves on packed snow echoes softly in the still air. Every mouthful provides the metabolic fuel needed to maintain internal thermodynamic balance against the dropping afternoon temperature. Surrounded by frosted evergreens and the quiet majesty of the mountains, the mule continues its peaceful excavation, nourished by the earth and sustained by the steady, unhurried rhythm of the wild. As the late afternoon sun dips lower behind the jagged mountain peaks, the temperature in the valley takes a noticeable descent, whispering through the evergreens in a muffled winter wind. For the adult mule, this drop marks a critical physiological shift. Inside its sturdy frame, the animal's metabolism subtly slows, operating with profound biological efficiency to preserve its precious fat and muscle reserves. This seasonal adaptation lowers the core caloric demand, acting as an internal thermostat that trades high activity for quiet endurance. Rather than pacing the snowy expanse or wasting energy against the elements, the mule embraces a deep, steady stillness. It stands motionless for long stretches of time, anchored against a towering pine, conserving every single calorie. This stillness is a sophisticated survival strategy. By reducing voluntary movement to only what is necessary, the mule minimizes heat loss and prevents the depletion of the energy it worked so hard to gather from beneath the snowpack. Its respiration is slow and even, creating tiny plumes of warm vapor that drift lazily into the freezing air before dissolving into the quiet dusk. Inside the digestive tract, a slow and steady fermentation process takes over. The fibrous grasses and dormant roots consumed moments ago are broken down gradually by specialized gut microbes, generating a continuous internal furnace of metabolic heat. This slow burn digestion acts like a hearth, warming the mule from the inside out without requiring frantic physical exertion. Surrounded by the peaceful, unbroken expanse of white, the animal rests in complete harmony with the frost, wrapped in a blanket of absolute calm as the mountain night slowly settles in. The fading late afternoon light begins to stretch long, indigo shadows across the pristine snowdrifts, painting the valley in hushed tones of violet and blue. High above, the sky softens from brilliant amber to a deep, velvety twilight, signaling the end of another resilient winter day in the mountains. The adult mule stands in peaceful repose near the edge of the silent evergreen forest. Its heavy, wind-resistant coat blends seamlessly with the frosted landscape, perfectly adapted to the sub-zero chill. With each slow, deliberate respiration, a gentle mist of warm breath rises into the freezing air, momentarily catching the low slanted rays of the sun before dissolving into the gathering dusk. Every muscle in the animal's sturdy frame is completely relaxed yet poised in quiet strength. The distant, muffled crack of a settling pine bough echoes softly through the frosty air, but the mule does not startle. It remains anchored in the stillness, entirely at home in the quiet majesty of the winter wilderness. The soft snowfall has ceased for the moment, leaving the valley wrapped in a profound and comforting silence. As the last traces of golden sunlight vanish behind the towering peaks, the temperature continues its steady descent, but the mule is completely insulated against the cold. Resting in this tranquil sanctuary, the animal sinks deeper into its natural rhythm of endurance and peace, cradled by the soft embrace of the sleeping earth as night gently takes hold. The winter sun traces a slow, descending arc toward the jagged western ridges, bleeding its final amber warmth into the high Alpine air. Across the vast, untracked meadows, the fading light stretches long, indigo shadows over deep, powdery snowdrifts. Each crystalline surface catches the oblique rays, refracting the twilight into delicate washes of violet and pale blue. The wilderness grows hushed as the temperature begins its steep evening plunge. Near the edge of a dense pine timberline, an adult mule stands in absolute stillness, embodying a profound calm amidst the descending chill. Its powerful frame is anchored securely in the drifts, unaffected by the freezing drafts sweeping down from the peaks. This remarkable resilience is rooted in sophisticated seasonal adaptations. Beneath the coarse guard hairs of its winter coat lies a dense, woolly underlayer, a marvel of natural insulation that traps a microscopic layer of warm air against the skin. This thick thermal barrier prevents body heat from escaping into the biting atmosphere, allowing the animal to conserve precious metabolic energy as the cold deepens. The mule's long ears pivot with gentle, independent grace, catching the faintest whispers of the winter wind moving through the valley. Every breath forms a brief, soft plume of vapor that vanishes into the crisp evening air, rising and dissolving into the quiet timber. Surrounded by the towering evergreens whose heavy boughs are laden with pristine snow, the mule remains a steadfast sentinel of the twilight, resting easy in the peaceful, frozen embrace of the high country. This intricate biological armor works through a process known as piloerection. Tiny erector pili muscles at the base of each follicle contract in response to the dropping ambient temperature, gently lifting the coarse outer guard hairs. This subtle shift transforms the coat from a sleek covering into a lofted, voluminous quilt that traps still air within its matrix. The guard hairs themselves serve a dual purpose. Coated in natural hydrophobic oils, they shed the freezing moisture of settling snow, ensuring the downy underfur remains completely dry. Because dry air is an exceptionally poor conductor of heat, the mule's own body warmth warms the air trapped within the fur, creating a personalized microclimate that maintains a steady, comfortable temperature right against the skin. Even the mule's large, expressive ears, so vital for hearing the distant shifting of hooves in the powder, are lined with fine hair to protect delicate blood vessels from the biting frost. As the sun slips entirely below the horizon and the sub-zero night begins to settle over the high timberline, this magnificent thermal architecture operates in silent perfection. The animal's internal furnace requires remarkably little fuel to maintain its baseline, relying on the trapped heat to buffer against the elements. Standing shoulder to shoulder with the small herd in the quiet gloom, the mule exhales a slow, rhythmic breath, completely insulated, resting in deep tranquility as the stars begin to prick the velvet sky. As the last bruised ribbons of sunset dissolve into indigo dusk, the adult mule shifts its weight, initiating a deliberate movement away from the exposed clearing. The small herd falls in step behind, navigating the deep, powdery snowdrifts with measured, unhurried grace. Each heavy hoof sinks into the pristine crust before lifting with a soft, muffled suction, creating a rhythmic cadence that blends into the quiet timberline. They are seeking the natural windbreak of an ancient pine grove, a dense pocket of timber where centuries-old branches droop low under heavy loads of snow. This structural barrier operates as a thermal sanctuary, interrupting the biting drafts that sweep down the mountain slopes. As the lead mule steps beneath the sheltering canopy, the ambient wind noise drops significantly, replaced by the hushed stillness of the interior grove. The low-hanging conifer boughs act as a living thatch roof, catching the settling snow and sparing the animals from direct exposure to the falling chill. Here, tucked deep within the protective timber, the microclimate stabilizes slightly away from the biting wind chill. The mule pauses, assessing the footing among the mossy roots and deep powder before planting its hooves firmly in the sheltered earth. The companions cluster closely, their bodies radiating gentle, shared warmth into the quiet space. With slow, deliberate grace, they begin to settle, letting the ancient pine stand sentinel against the deepening winter night, offering safe harbor until the morning light returns. Within this snow-draped timber sanctuary, sound itself seems to freeze, folding inward beneath blankets of white. Deep, powdery snow possesses remarkable acoustic properties, its countless tiny air pockets acting as a natural sound trap that absorbs high-frequency ripples and harsh vibrations. The dense pine canopy overhead completes the acoustic insulation, catching stray echoes and leaving the grove wrapped in a profound, velvety quiet. In this stillness, every minute detail of the soundscape becomes magnified, gentle and rhythmic. A soft, steady equine breathing rises and falls in slow cadence, each warm exhale creating a tiny plume of vapor that vanishes into the cold indigo air. Beneath this breathy hum, the subtle hydraulic shift of sinew and muscle as the mule adjusts its stance barely disturbs the stillness, just the muffled, dry settling of powdery crystals beneath a hoof. Atop the mule's finely articulated head, two long ears pivot independently in slow, graceful arcs. These specialized radar dishes sweep through the hushed timberline, finely tuned to the faintest frequencies of the quiet landscape. They catch the distant, creaking sigh of a pine bough unburdening itself high above, or the dull thud of a heavy clump of snow detaching from a needle-laden branch to land softly on the drift below. No sharp noises penetrate this enclave. The world outside the timberline is locked in ice. But here, The acoustic geometry of the snowbound forest creates a pocket of utter peace. The mule closes its eyes halfway, basking in the profound auditory calm, perfectly attuned to the gentle pulse of the winter night. Within the absolute shelter of the pines, the adult mule settles deeper into its stationary stance, resting its robust weight evenly across 4 sturdy limbs. Each hoof is planted firmly within the powdery drift, locked in a natural anatomical stay apparatus that allows the tendons and ligaments to lock effortlessly. This brilliant physiological adaptation removes the need for muscular exertion, enabling the animal to remain completely at rest while standing for hours on end, conserving precious metabolic energy through the long, freezing night. Beside it, the rest of the small herd presses close in a calm, deliberate huddle. This communal positioning minimizes the collective surface area exposed to the chill, creating a microclimate of shared body warmth among the bonded companions. Social stability reigns within the group. There are no nervous shifts for dominance, only the quiet, mutual understanding born of winter survival. Slowly, the mule lowers its head just a fraction, matching the steady, low-frequency rhythm of its neighbors. Digestion of coarse, dormant forage consumed earlier in the day continues deep within its massive hindgut, acting as a living furnace that steadily generates internal metabolic heat. Every slow, measured intake of air fuels this internal fire, turning rough winter fiber into reliable warmth without requiring active foraging in the deep drifts. The air grows colder still as indigo twilight surrenders to the deep, starry velvet of night, but within the timberline, the atmosphere remains steady and protective. Breathing in unison with the forest, the mule drifts into a state of deep, restorative rest, perfectly insulated, highly efficient, and completely at peace within the snowy embrace of the winter wild. High above the sheltered canopy, the final embers of day dissolve completely into a vast, crystal-clear sky where the first brilliant stars begin to prick the velvet dark. The amber glow that once brushed the snowy crests fades into a deep, velvety indigo, signaling the absolute quiet of night. In this hushed stillness, the adult mule lets its heavy eyelids drift slowly downward. For a brief, restorative moment, the long, expressive ears tilt backward in a state of supreme relaxation, no longer needing to constantly track the shifting forest sounds. This fleeting slumber is light yet profound, a delicate resting phase where the brain stays partially vigilant while the body recharges its vital energy. The forest around them seems to hold its breath. The muffled winds above the timberline settle into a gentle, distant hum, leaving only the rhythmic, low-frequency breathing of the herd to fill the tranquil air. Every scientific marvel of the mule's winter anatomy, from the dense, hollow guard hairs trapping a personal layer of warm air to the steady metabolic burn within, continues its silent work under the starlight. Surrounded by the deep, powdery drifts and the comforting presence of its companions, the adult mule stands like a quiet monument of resilience. The world outside the timberline is frozen and vast, but within this fragrant grove of snow-laden pines, time slows to a gentle, motionless pause. The long winter evening settles completely, offering a deep, unbroken peace that stretches endlessly into the quiet dark. High above the timberline, where the air grows thin and diamond-sharp, a profound stillness blankets the frozen world. The winter night settles over the high mountain ridges with absolute quiet, broken only by the muffled sigh of distant wind sweeping across the exposed crags. Above the jagged, snow-draped peaks, a brilliant canopy of stars burns with a steady, frigid light, casting long shadows across fields of untouched white. Out of the darkness, a single, deliberate shape moves through the knee-deep drifts. It is an aging mule, bearing decades of hard-earned wisdom shaped by the unforgiving Alpine environment. With practiced, economical steps, the animal navigates the treacherous slopes, bypassing the wind-scoured ledges where the gales bite the hardest. Instead, the mule seeks out a sheltered hollow nestled between ancient, snow-heavy evergreens, a natural pocket where the biting gusts are tamed to a gentle, low breeze sighing through the pine boughs. Here, surrounded by the quiet majesty of the winter wilderness, the mule prepares for rest. Decades of survival have taught this creature the art of energy conservation. As the sub-zero air freezes each breath into a gentle plume of white mist, the animal's physiology responds with remarkable resilience. The thick, multi-layered winter coat and carefully maintained subcutaneous fat reserves work in quiet harmony to lock in vital core heat. Standing with head lowered in the serene shelter, the mule eases into a state of deep, restorative tranquility, perfectly attuned to the slow, peaceful passing of the starlit hours. Decades of traversing these severe granite heights have mapped an intricate topography of survival into the aging animal's consciousness. Every fold of the mountain, every dense cluster of alpine fir, and every massive outcropping of weather-worn stone is catalogued in a profound spatial memory. The mule does not wander, it remembers. It understands microclimates with the precision of a seasoned tracker, knowing precisely where the turbulent ridge winds lift and eddy away from the earth, leaving behind pockets of profound, still air. Stepping softly into the lee of a massive ancient granite boulder, the mule finds its sanctuary. This geological shield blocks the relentless flow of Arctic air draining down from the peaks, creating a thermal oasis just fractions of a degree warmer than the exposed tundra above. The ground here, cushioned by a thick layer of pine needles beneath the powder snow, offers a stable foundation. This deliberate choice is an act of masterclass thermoregulation. By breaking the wind chill, the mule drastically reduces convective heat loss, the rapid siphoning of body heat caused by moving air passing over the skin. Coupled with a specialized equine circulatory system that constricts peripheral blood vessels in the limbs to keep vital warmth centered around the core organs, this sheltered microhabitat allows the animal's metabolism to shift into a low, sustainable hum. Surrounded by the quiet embrace of stone and timber, the mule settles deeper into the snow-draped hollow, perfectly shielded from the elements by the ancient architecture of the mountain itself. In this fragile sanctuary of stone and shadow, the mule's physical form becomes a masterclass in biological engineering. As the mercury plunges well below freezing, the animal's coat undergoes a remarkable transformation driven by evolutionary design. Each individual hair of the dense winter coat lifts slightly, a process known as piloerection, trapping a microscopic layer of air against the skin. This thick, double-layered thatch acts as a natural high-performance thermal blanket, preventing body heat from escaping into the sub-zero night. Beneath this woolly armor lies a vital reserve of subcutaneous fat, accumulated through the rich foraging of autumn, which provides an extra tier of biological insulation. Internally, the aging mule's metabolism adapts with quiet precision, without the need for frantic shivering, which wastes precious calories. The animal relies on the slow, steady fermentation of fibrous forage within its expansive hindgut. This internal microbial furnace acts as a biological radiator, generating continuous metabolic heat through digestion long after the sun has set. Older equids possess a deeply tuned physiological wisdom. Their bodies efficiently balance energy expenditure, ensuring that core temperature remains stable without overworking vital organs. With every calm, measured inhalation, breathed air blooms outward in soft, translucent plumes of mist, dissolving seamlessly into the crisp alpine stillness. The peripheral blood flow adjusts gracefully, routing warmth exclusively to the chest and abdomen to protect the body's central engine. Here, in the quiet depths of the winter night, the thermodynamics of survival unfold in complete harmony with the wilderness. Within the protected hollow, the aging mule settles into a state of profound, restorative stillness. yet its vigilance never truly sleeps. Equine rest is a delicate paradox born of ancient survival instincts, balancing the absolute necessity of deep recovery with an unbroken, intuitive awareness of the surrounding wilderness. The mule eases its weight onto 3 resting pillars while one hind hoof remains casually cocked, a posture that locks the stifle joints in a passive stay apparatus. This anatomical marvel allows the massive frame to find complete muscular relief without expending energy to remain upright. Yet, true slumber for an older equid is segmented and light. Large, expressive ears rotate independently, sweeping back and forth through the frigid air like biological radar dishes. They capture the faintest acoustic signatures of the winter night, the muffled sigh of distant wind cresting the upper ridges, the settling groan of ancient ice, and the hushed whisper of pine needles brushing against snow. Through these delicate movements, the mule monitors the dark landscape even as its eyelids grow heavy. Specialized sleep cycles allow the animal to experience brief episodes of slow-wave rest while standing, interspersed with moments of sternal recumbency when the body finally surrenders to deeper restoration. The brain remains quietly alert, wired to the subtle vibrations traveling upward through frozen stone. Slow, rhythmic breathing echoes softly in the hollow, harmonizing with the gentle hush of the midnight snowfall. Wrapped in warmth and starlight, the mule rests in peaceful equilibrium, perfectly attuned to the slow, timeless heartbeat of the sleeping mountain. Hours drift past uncounted across the frozen expanse, measured only by the gradual arc of constellations wheeling slowly through the vast, ink-black sky. High upon the jagged spine of the continent, time loses its sharp edge, dissolving into the timeless, unhurried cadence of the high-altitude winter. The moonlight shifts by slow degrees, lengthening the deep blue shadows cast by snow-pillowed boulders and ancient, gnarled pines. Every detail of the Alpine landscape seems carved from crystal and silver, frozen in a state of eternal grace. High above the timberline, the ambient temperature hovers deep below freezing, yet within the protective embrace of the hollow, the mule remains cocooned in its own quiet ecosystem. The dense underfur traps a microscopic layer of warmed air against the skin, working in silent harmony with the body's internal thermoregulation to hold winter at bay. With every steady exhalation, a soft plume of mist rises into the crisp night air, swirling gently before vanishing into the starlit void. The sound of rhythmic breathing fills the quiet space, rising and falling like a slow tide against a silent shore. It is a steady, reassuring pulse that anchors the living presence of the animal within the monumental stillness of the wilderness. Nothing hurries here. The universe pauses in its turning, held in a delicate balance of frost, starlight, and deep, restorative peace. The old mule rests on, cradled by the mountains, perfectly attuned to the enduring, unchanging rhythms of the frozen wild. The midnight hour arrives without a sound, marking the quiet hinge upon which the night begins its long, imperceptible turn toward the dawn. High above the timberline, the atmosphere grows crisper, the sub-zero air sharpening into a crystalline clarity that makes the distant stars burn with a steady, diamond-like intensity. The wind remains completely absent in the sheltered hollow, leaving the deep chill to settle in a soft, even blanket across the snow-draped ridge. In this deepest phase of the night, the mule's metabolism hums with quiet efficiency. Decades of physiological adaptation have taught this aging body how to ration its vital energy reserves with absolute precision, maintaining core warmth while allowing peripheral circulation to gently cool. It is a masterpiece of biological conservation honed by years of surviving the harshest alpine extremes. The rhythmic cadence of the mule's breathing slows just a fraction more, blending seamlessly with the low, muffled hush of the surrounding snowpack. Each breath creates a tiny, ephemeral puff of mist that drifts upward and dissolves into the darkness, carrying away the gentle heat of a resting life force. Though deep in recuperative slumber, the mule's nervous system retains an effortless, subterranean awareness, guarding the stillness with ancient vigilance. Far down the valley, a thin sheet of surface ice on a hidden creek settles and gives a faint, resonant crack, swallowed instantly by the vastness of the mountains. The starlight continues its slow, majestic drift across the frozen crags, painting the ridges in pale silver and blue. The world holds its breath in the quiet dark, resting deeply in the profound peace of the high winter night. The hours between midnight and the first pale hint of morning hold a unique, suspended stillness in the high Alpine wilderness. Far above the timberline, the wind carves frozen crests. But deep within this sheltered mountain ravine, the air rests in a profound, velvety calm. A thick, undisturbed blanket of powdery snow covers the landscape, smoothing every jagged boulder and fallen branch into soft, undulating contours. This pristine layer acts as a massive acoustic blanket, absorbing wandering sounds until the silence becomes an actual presence, deep, heavy, and immensely comforting. High-altitude winter nights routinely plunge far below freezing, testing the limits of wildlife endurance. Yet, this secluded fold in the earth functions as a thermal haven, buffering the biting gales. Across the silent expanse, a solitary, venerable figure rests completely unseen until one draws near. An aging mule, seasoned by decades of traversing these unforgiving ranges, has chosen this exact hollow to weather the dead of winter. At this stage in its life, the mule's body relies heavily on refined physiological strategies for winter survival. Its system has mastered the art of metabolic conservation, slowing internal energy expenditure to match the sparse, dormant offerings of the cold season. The surrounding snow-muffled quiet matches the internal peace of the veteran animal. There is no urgency here, only the quiet patience of age and experience. Far above the ravine, muffled winds sigh harmlessly over the frozen ridges, while below, the world holds its breath in absolute, restorative tranquility. In this absolute stillness, the only motion is the slow, deliberate rise and fall of the mule's flank. Respiration in the freezing pre-dawn air has settled into a deep, meditative rhythm, functioning as a vital component of the animal's winter survival adaptations. With each measured exhalation, a tiny plume of warm breath forms in the crisp atmosphere, instantly dissolving into the dark like a wisp of silver smoke before vanishing into the night. For an aging equid, controlling respiratory rate is an essential part of thermoregulation and energy conservation. By slowing the breath, the body minimizes moisture loss and reduces unnecessary metabolic output, allowing the internal core temperature to remain remarkably stable despite the biting cold. Decades of weathering harsh seasons have taught this seasoned veteran how to quiet its physiology completely. The lungs expand in a gentle, rolling wave, drawing in the dry, needle-scented mountain air and warming it efficiently through an extensive network of blood vessels within the nasal passages before it reaches the chest. There is a profound, hypnotic regularity to these quiet breaths. They match the distant, muffled creaking of heavy pine boughs shifting under their burden of snow, blending the life of the animal seamlessly with the rhythms of the forest. Each cycle of inhalation and release deepens the peaceful suspension of time, turning the freezing ravine into a sanctuary of restorative calm where the body can rest, repair, and simply endure. Protecting this vulnerable core temperature is a marvel of biological engineering, visible in the remarkable structure of the mule's winter coat. Unlike the sleek hides of the warmer months, the cold weather pelt is a dual-layered masterpiece designed for extreme thermoregulation. Long, coarse outer guard hairs act as a primary weather shield. These specialized hairs repel moisture and break the chilling momentum of any stray drafts slipping down the ravine walls, preventing the cold from reaching the skin. Beneath this sturdy canopy lies a dense, plush undercoat of fine, woolly fibers. This lower layer traps billions of microscopic pockets of air, utilizing the natural insulating properties of trapped gas to create a thermal barrier around the body. As the mule rests, metabolic heat rising from the skin warms these tiny air pockets. Because the air cannot circulate freely, it forms a personal microclimate of warmth that completely envelopes the animal, effectively sealing its body heat inside a living blanket. For an aging equid, this passive heating mechanism is vital for winter survival. By relying on superior insulation rather than burning precious calories to generate internal warmth through shivering, the mule conserves its energy stores for when they are truly needed. The individual hairs even possess tiny muscles that allow them to adjust their angle, fluffing upward to maximize trapped air when the temperature plummets, and smoothing down as needed. Even the skin's superficial blood vessels constrict gently in the freezing air, routing warm blood inward toward vital organs while allowing the surface temperature of the coat to drop safely close to the ambient frost. Wrapped in this silent, biological armor, the resting mule remains blissfully insulated from the sub-zero night. This masterclass in thermoregulation is matched only by the profound behavioral wisdom etched into the animal's mind over many winters. A younger, more restless equine might pace against the chill, burning irreplaceable calories in a futile fight against the season. But age brings a quiet grace, a deep understanding born of experience. This veteran of the high country knows that the truest survival strategy in the dead of winter is absolute stillness. Decades of navigating rugged alpine terrain have taught the mule when to expend effort and, more importantly, when to conserve it entirely. Every movement is calculated, every unnecessary step eliminated. By resting deeply within the sheltered pocket of the snow ravine, the aging equid allows its metabolism to slip into a restorative rhythm. Internal energy expenditure drops to a baseline hum, prioritizing the vital organs and cellular repair over motion. This metabolic conservation is a masterclass in biological efficiency, stretching limited fat reserves and scarce forage nutrients across the harshest weeks of the year. The mind of the aging mule rests just as deeply as its muscles. Even in sleep, it remains gently attuned to the subtle language of the mountains, finding peace in the muffled sigh of the wind over the distant ridges. It is a state of active restoration, where the accumulated wisdom of a long life translates into effortless endurance. Surrounded by undisturbed drifts of snow, the animal exists in total harmony with the winter night, anchored by a timeless understanding that rest is the most powerful medicine the wilderness provides. Beyond the immediate perimeter of the ravine, a vast blanket of fresh, powdery snow drapes the landscape, transforming the alpine forest into an acoustically isolated haven. Freshly fallen snow possesses a remarkable physical property. Its porous, crystalline structure acts as a natural sound damper. Millions of tiny air pockets trapped between ice crystals capture and absorb acoustic energy, effectively swallowing wandering breezes and muffled crackles from afar. When wind sweeps across the high ridges above, its sharp, abrasive howl is stripped of its harsher frequencies before it ever reaches the ravine floor. The snowpack functions as an acoustic sponge, deadening the ambient noise of the wilderness into a soft, velvety hush. This profound silence is not merely an absence of sound. It is an active envelope of tranquility that wraps around the resting mule, shielding its sensitive ears from startling vibrations. In this hushed sanctuary, the animal's nervous system can finally let go of baseline vigilance. Without the disruptive echoes of snapping branches or distant predators moving across hard-crusted drifts, the brain easily slips into deeper phases of restorative rest. The muffled quiet communicates safety to the ancient mammal, signaling that the outside world has paused its demands. Breathing slows even further, matching the velvet stillness of the air. Surrounded by the sound-absorbing drifts, the aging mule drifts deeper into peace, cradled by the quietest winter night the mountains have to offer. High above the shadowed trench of the ravine, the heavy darkness of the upper sky begins to soften, shifting from an impenetrable charcoal to a deep, bruised indigo. High-altitude atmospheric particles catch the very first scattered refraction of sunlight, still hidden far below the curvature of the earth. A delicate ribbon of pale silver traces the jagged silhouette of the frosted canyon rims, marking the slow, inexorable turning of the planet toward the morning. Down in the sheltered hollow, the air remains locked in a bitter, glittering frost, yet the quality of the stillness alters almost imperceptibly. The stars overhead, once diamond-sharp against the black expanse, blur softly at the edges as the upper atmosphere warms by a fraction of a degree. The aging mule remains anchored in its restorative slumber, perfectly attuned to these subtle planetary shifts. Decades of weathering mountain winters have honed its internal barometers and circadian awareness. Even in deep rest, the animal's nervous system registers the infinitesimally small barometric adjustments and the microscopic lightening of the snow crust. A soft exhale plumes into the freezing air, condensing into a brief, shimmering cloud that dissolves instantly into the quiet dawn. Its senses, resting but never truly dormant, receive the silent message of the coming sunrise. There is no sudden start, no rush to rise, only a gentle deepening of awareness as the winter night yields its long reign. The mule rests on, cradled by the final moments of absolute peace before the world wakes. High above the timberline, the frost-crowned ridge catches the earliest breath of morning. The first golden ray of winter sun spills over the granite crest, cutting through the blue shadows of dawn to paint the deep, untrodden snow of the valley floor in shades of amber and rose. In the heart of this tranquil basin, an aging mule stands wrapped in the profound silence of the new day. Decades of weathering the high country elements have slowed the animal's metabolism, a natural adaptation of geriatric equine physiology that favors deep energy conservation and quiet endurance over frantic motion. A thick winter coat, dense guard hairs insulating a fine underfur, provides exceptional thermoregulation, trapping body heat against the crisp sub-zero air. A soft, misted breath drifts from the mule's nostrils, mingling with the gentle wind that whispers through the heavy boughs of ancient Douglas firs. The quiet air carries the clean, sharp scents of frozen pine needles and cold mountain stone, registering deeply within the animal's sensitive olfactory senses. This is a landscape the mule knows intimately, having integrated into the delicate balance of the ecosystem over many revolving seasons. Every ridge, gully, and rocky outcrop holds the memory of sure-footed journeys past. As the golden warmth of the sun touches the mule's frosted flank, long faded scars and silvered fur bear quiet witness to a remarkable life of resilience. There is no need for movement, no restless shifting within the herd hierarchy. The wisdom of age rests comfortably in the stillness, anchored to the eternal rhythms of the sleeping earth. From the deep slumber of the winter night, the mule stirs with a quiet, deliberate grace. Eyelids part slowly, revealing dark, gentle eyes that mirror the calm expanse of the snowbound basin. In this sheltered hollow, the body begins its gentle transition from nocturnal rest to waking stillness, orchestrated by the steady, unhurried rhythm of a resilient heart. Geriatric equine physiology is a masterclass in biological efficiency. Throughout the long, freezing hours, the mule's metabolism has maintained a carefully regulated internal temperature, relying on the quiet fermentation of fibrous forage within the hindgut to generate a slow, internal warmth. This natural furnace requires no wasted exertion, perfectly balancing energy conservation with the quiet demands of survival. Now, as the morning light deepens, the mule's thick, winter coat catches the amber rays. Each hollow guard hair traps a microscopic cushion of air, working in concert with the dense underfur to seal out the biting cold. A soft sigh of quiet breath escapes the nostrils, forming delicate, crystalline plumes that drift upward into the frigid air and dissolve into the pale blue sky. There is a profound comfort in this waking moment. The joints, stiffened by decades of mountain trails and seasonal migrations, loosen by degrees as the sun's warmth penetrates deep into the muscle and bone. No calls disturb the peace. The surrounding herd members stand close by in similar states of restful contemplation, bound by ancient social ties that require no movement to maintain. The mule feels the solid, reassuring earth beneath rounded hooves, completely at peace with the quiet morning. To stand in this golden light is to inhabit a living archive of the high country. Decades of sensory perception are etched into the mule's quiet consciousness, mapping a topography learned step by deliberate step. Memory flows backward along invisible trails, tracing the vibrant green of high alpine meadows where succulent grasses once fueled the boundless energy of youth. Those summer heights, where the thin air tests even the most robust cardiovascular endurance, gave way to the treacherous, slate-strewn riverbanks of monsoon seasons and the blinding golden corridors of autumn canyons. This remarkable resilience traces deep into the animal's hybrid heritage, blending the cautious intelligence of the donkey with the athletic capacity of the horse. The mule possesses a specialized skeletal structure and an extraordinary metabolic economy. Every boulder-strewn switchback and icy ridge crossed over a lifetime required a calculated economy of motion, never a wasted step, never an unnecessary expenditure of force. This quiet wisdom is a gift of biology and experience combined, forged through thousands of miles of navigating the most unforgiving terrain on the continent. Standing now in the pristine silence of the winter basin, the past and present merge into a singular, tranquil state. The mountain ecosystem, complex and interconnected, holds the mule not as a passing visitor, but as an essential thread in its vast, enduring tapestry. The distant, resonant call of a raven drifts across the frozen valley, echoing against granite walls that have watched over generations. Surrounded by the timeless majesty of frosted peaks and quiet pine groves, the aging traveler rests in the fullness of time, cradled by the profound and enduring peace of the snow-draped earth. Long ears, velvety and lined with fine white hairs, twitch slightly in the crisp morning air. With independent rotation, they capture the faint, whispering sound of wind brushing through distant evergreens high up on the ridge. This specialized auditory acuity, finely tuned over a lifetime, sorts through the ambient frequencies of the valley, filtering the whisper of settling snow from the quiet, rhythmic expansion of the chest. The mule's dark, luminous eyes survey the pristine white expanse, fully attuned to the peaceful, unhurried rhythm of the surrounding ecosystem. Specialized sensory receptors in the skin and muzzle detect the subtlest shifts in barometric pressure and temperature. A delicate thermal map is formed, sensing where the pale winter sun has begun to warm the frost-covered granite boulders protruding from the snow. Every scent carried on the gentle draft, the sharp, resinous aroma of pine sap, the clean mineral tang of frozen stone, and the distant musk of resting herdmates, is processed with calm, steady familiarity. There is no tension in the muscles, no hurried scanning for shadows or threat. Instead, sensory perception serves as a quiet bridge connecting the animal to the wilderness. The biological machinery of thermoregulation, thick winter fur lofted to trap insulating air, and a specialized circulatory countercurrent system in the lower limbs works in silent harmony with the environment. The mule stands as a seamless part of the landscape, breathing in the cold air, feeling the profound stillness of the mountains, and resting deeply within the timeless embrace of the winter morning. Slowly, with deliberate grace, the aging mule shifts its weight. A single, unhurried step breaks the pristine crust of the snow. Every muscle in the robust yet weathered frame moves with the economy of motion born from decades of traversing steep alpine passes. The biomechanics of the stride are a masterclass in energy conservation, Joints that have weathered countless switchbacks and rocky trails flex just enough to carry the heavy, sure-footed body forward into the warming morning light. As the hoof meets the frozen earth, it settles firmly and deeply, anchoring the animal to the terrain it has known for a lifetime. There is no wasted effort, no hesitation. This single step is not born of restlessness or need, but of a quiet, enduring agency. It is a physical manifestation of hard-earned wisdom, an integration of muscle memory, skeletal strength, and profound ecological harmony. The mule embodies the very landscape it inhabits, moving with the same patient inevitability as the glaciers that carved the valley ages ago. Bathed in the low, horizontal rays of the winter sun, the mule pauses again. The thick coat drinks in the solar radiation, and the heavy chest rises and falls in a slow, steady cadence. Every line of the silhouette speaks of resilience, endurance, and deep peace. Surrounded by towering peaks and silent evergreens, the animal stands completely grounded, a living monument to the gentle passage of time and the quiet majesty of the natural world. High above the white basin, the winter sun climbs higher into a vast, crystal blue sky, casting a brilliant, diamond-like sparkle across the untouched snowdrifts. The morning air remains crisp, carrying the clean, sharp scent of pine resin and cold stone, yet the golden warmth of the light deepens steadily. The camera lingers on the tranquil valley, watching as the shadows slowly shorten and soften. The aging mule stands motionless once more, completely at ease within the sanctuary of the mountains. Decades of physiological adaptation, the specialized circulatory shunts that keep extremities warm, the dense insulating winter coat, and the heart trained by thousands of miles of high-altitude travel culminate in this singular moment of profound stillness. There is no longer any trail to follow, nor any steep pass to conquer. The journey has folded seamlessly into the landscape. From far across the basin, a distant raven calls out, its resonant voice echoing softly against the towering granite cliffs before fading into the silent expanse. A light puff of wind gently stirs the frosted boughs of an ancient fir, sending a delicate cascade of snow-settling crystals drifting downward in a sparkling haze. The mule lets out one final, quiet breath, a gentle plume of warm vapor that dissolves instantly into the crisp morning air. The heavy eyelids droop slightly in sweet contentment, absorbing the restorative heat of the sun. The ecosystem pulses on in perfect, rhythmic balance, silent, enduring, and whole. Here, nestled within the quiet majesty of the snow-draped mountains, time slows to a standstill. The trail is ended, the long day has begun, and a deep, everlasting peace settles over the valley.